approaching Tess on Ferry. Southbound at 141, still backed up traffic approaching 13th Street down through Romaine Creek. Southbound 55, Arsenal down through Bates. Still have a backup from Highway BB. That's not quite midway back to A on southbound 21, headed into the end of the 4-lane at Hillsborough. And we still have a little slowdown westbound 64 at Greenmount Road and westbound 5570 a backup approaching 111. I'm Roger Brand at the michaelsflooringoutlet.com Traffic Center.
Brought to you by Eamon Gantner and Capriano, yourestatematters.com. My dad always said, no one gets out of this world alive. Hi, it's Margaret at Eamon Gantner and Capriano. Do you have a will? Eamon Gantner and Capriano, yourestatematters.com. The choice of an attorney is an important decision that should not be based solely on advertising.
News, traffic, and the latest from the world of sports. This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
It is Rush Hour Sports right here on KMOX. My name's Matt Pauley. Bernie Miklasz is here. We have no Kevin Wheeler because he is chasing ghosts with the Dave Glover show today. So we can survive without him. And Bernie, hopefully he returns tomorrow and has not dealt with any sort of encounters of the extreme kind.
What I mean, I missed the details on this, so forgive me. But what does chasing ghosts mean?
They do the Dave Glover show every year, does a Halloween show, and they go to a different location that is known to be haunted, and they do stuff from there. So, yes, that's where they're at.
That's pretty awesome, actually. It sounds like fun.
They did not reveal on air where they were going. I talked to Kevin. I got the inside information. It's Kevin's having an interesting day, too, because he's a Tigers fan. The Tigers are in a rain delay. He thought the game was going to be over by the time this started, and now he's going to miss some of it. I picked up my daughter from school today. She's a first grader, and the principal of the school is somebody who grew up in the Seattle area, played baseball at a pretty high level, at college level. He's a big Mariners fan. He was telling me he was going to try to get through, dealing with the letting kids out and the carpool lanes and everything, and try to get home in time to see the Mariners play. And now that game hasn't even started yet.
Yeah, I both of these teams are fun, and they're also an example of how you sort of not necessarily rebuild, but how you kind of put together a better plan for your roster, and it also helps to have all that great power pitching. So that's kind of fun. Did you see when you're watching the game the other night when they won their first home postseason game since 2001? Did you catch that incredible shot? I thought it was phenomenal. Where a Mariners fan was standing, they knew that they were about to win first home game playoff game since 2020 or 2001. Sorry. And the wife or significant other noticed that he was getting emotional, and she removed his glasses, and you could see the tears coming down. And she just took him in her embrace and hugged him. And I thought, isn't that exactly what it means to be a fan and you love a team so much that you don't even try to conceal your emotions. You cry out of happiness. I thought that was awesome. I love that moment.
There is something to be said, Bernie, for when something hasn't happened in a really long time, or something hasn't happened in your lifetime, or when something just completely unexpected happens and you experience it for the first time. For me, I was born in 1982. So with all due respect to the 82 World Series, I was about 2 months old when that occurred. So I don't have real good memories, of experiencing the 82 World Series. So when 2006 occurs, that's my first experience of it, and just the feeling that takes over you. And it's a really cool thing as a sports fan. 2011 was a little bit different, although there's some very, unique things that happened in the 2011 World Series that brought out emotions in its own right. But there's something powerful about experiencing something either for the first time or the first time in a really, really long time, the way Mariners fans are experiencing right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I had a couple of those moments before I went into sports writing, and I recall them fondly. In fact, I'll never forget it. I mean, I replay these things in my mind. The older you'll find this too, young man, the older you get, the more sentimental you become about wonderful things that happened in your life or things you were able to witness. And in my case, like being a sports writer, for so long, and a podcaster and a radio host and everything else. I mean, I'm just talking about St. Louis alone. I mean, in other words, I'm not even talking about other cities. Just if I sat down and made a list of all the extraordinary things and athletes, and I've been able to watch and write about or talk about, I swear, I don't even know how I could get that done. I feel truly blessed that I have witnessed so much greatness in doing a job that I truly love. I mean, I got no complaints, man. I got no complaints whatsoever, because it's been a great ride. But I do love the fact that I'm getting more sentimental with age.
Mhm.
I think that's pretty common.
Yeah.
But I love it. I absolutely love it. I don't try to resist it.
I am younger than you, but I'm into my 40s, and I can sit here and say that I'll let a tear come out of my eye more often now than I would 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I think having kids obviously changes that a lot, when that changes your life in a very big way. But I've got no problem being emotional about things. That's
Yeah, we were comparing notes the other day when we were basically, through text messages, we were watching the Navy Air Force game. And you were talking about the end, when the military academies play, what's the ritual after the game? They sing each other's school song, or whatever you want to call it, and the winner goes second, the winner goes last. So, in other words, so the Air Force players ran over to the Navy side of the field, and the Navy players sang, the Navy blue and gold, which is really beautiful. And I told you, I said, there have been times, depending on my mood or how big the win was, or just the way the win happened for Navy, the way they pulled something out, I've bawled like a baby listening to that song, watching it on TV. When the Navy players are there, I just break down crying. I mean, I do my dick for meal. I can't. I'm not trying to hold anything back. See, stuff like that get to me, right?
And your description was great. Like, having worked at Air Force for all those years, when they would play Navy or Army and they would beat one of those two teams, the moment I loved is because they would go over and play the loser song first, and Air Force would stand behind Army or Navy. And if the moment, especially if they won a home game, when the Army or Navy song ends, every Air Force player would turn around and sprint to their band and just yell and scream. And you could just see what it meant to win this football game. This was more than a football game. And the other team would walk behind them because obviously they're not happy they just lost. And it was always that moment before even the winning song started, but just the illustration in front of me of the winning team sprinting and the fans in the in the stadium experiencing this. That's what always got me.
I tell you what, and I promise, although I think people should always be interested in Army versus Navy, Air Force versus Navy or Army, because these are really meaningful rivalries, and they carry a very special and extra weight for obvious reasons. Because I know, following the Naval Academy as much as I have, I had a schoolmate chum. The guy was born on the same day I was, literally. And we were high school teammates, and he was a great athlete, and he was the starting goaltender for Navy's lacrosse team, and he was killed in action. And so there are times when I'm watching that blue and gold, and I think of my friend and think about the family he left behind and everything else. And there are all kinds of service academy athletes, not just football players, who have given their life in defending democracy. And that's why, Matt, I hate these conversations about, well, what's the greatest rivalry out there? And people will name every rivalry you can think of and inexplicably leave out Army versus Navy. For all this like phony patriotism out there, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
How can you overlook, and no offense to Air Force at all, but how can you overlook Army versus Navy? That's the greatest college football rivalry there is, period. And when you see players from those programs, or you see players, from all these other programs, when we see them in danger trying to defend America, then, maybe we can start talking about, where those rivalries fit in. But to me, this one stands alone. And I tell you what, watching a lot of Army Navy games through the years with my friend Jim Thomas, who had two sons graduate from West Point, and it was a unique experience because when Navy was beating Army all those years, I felt bad. I was almost like, I hope Army can win one here soon. And that's what Roger Staubach always said. And then they did. And everyone who's a Navy fan was telling Roger, shut up, quit saying that, So, but no, it's just such a great rivalry. I don't know how I got onto this, but thanks for humoring me on it.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing to talk about and for people to know about. This isn't what we were planning on talking about, but we can get to the baseball stuff in a moment. In fact, you know what? We'll take a break now. Chaim Bloom today was on the Gas House Gang. You were a part of that, Bernie. I want to kind of go through some of what he said, what really stuck out to you. One thing for sure, more than anything else stuck out to me. I'll throw that at you, and we'll kind of go through that. Later on Sports Open Line, we'll play some of those cuts. But I want to go through some of what Chaim had to say. We'll do that coming up in just a moment as you are listening to Rush Hour Sports on KMOX.
It's easy to feel apprehensive about getting screened for cancer or to just keep putting it off. But Siteman Cancer Center wants to remind you how important it is, especially after the age of 40. And they also want you to know how easy it is to get it done. GetScreenedNow.com has all the information you need on cancers like prostate, breast, colon, lung cancer. You can also find out your risk of disease by answering just a few simple questions. And then you can find one of the hundreds of screening locations in the area. Even if you're a little farther out, there is probably a place near you. You have heard this before, but catching cancer early dramatically increases the odds of a successful treatment, especially with so many cancers showing up earlier in life. So do not be intimidated. Siteman will make the process as simple as possible. GetScreenedNow.com. Do it for your family and friends who count on you. Do it for yourself. Visit GetScreenedNow.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM. Visit consumercellular.com/fax or store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Drury Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Drury Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Drury Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Traffic from the MichaelsFloorandOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This traffic report is the service of the Penn Mutual Life Insurance Company. You still got heavy traffic on really both directions. Highway 70 between Earth City and 270 westbound extends more like to the Blanchette Bridge, and then from A to Z after that. A little bit of a backup westbound 364 as you approach Youngerman. So it looks like we may have had a crash. It's closer to Heritage, right about Youngerman. So there's a little bit of a jam, but it's not all the way back to 94 Mugi. So that's the good news. If you're on 270, both directions between Manchester and Isle, pretty busy. The southbound side, though, extends down to about Doherty Ferry, but after that, you're good to go. Southbound 170, Delmar down to 64. That is backed up. Westbound 64, Kings Highway out through Bellevue, Big Bend. It's slow west of McKnight all the way to 270, from Clarkson all the way to the Boone Bridge, from K Midway to Winghaven, and right through Lake St. Louis Boulevard to 70, a couple of heavy stretches. Southbound 55, Gaskin 8 Bates, a little congestion there. It looks like they finally cleared that crash on southbound 21 headed into Hillsboro. That's good news. We still have roadwork delays westbound 5570, midway in from 255 to 111. Are you considering life insurance? Penn Mutual's accelerated client experience makes applying for life insurance fast and easy. Ask your independent advisor or go to pennmutual.com/STL. I'm Roger Brand in the Michael's FlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Alongside of Bernie Miklasz, I'm Matt Pauley. Welcome back into the program. It's been a fun day here at KMOX because Chaim Bloom made his first ever Gas House Gang appearance. The time slot that had been given to Oliver Marmol for most of the year was given today to Chaim Bloom. I also heard him confirm that he will be doing the Sunday morning conversations with Tom Ackerman during Sports on Sunday Morning that John Mozeliak so graciously did for years and years. So good that Chaim's going to be part of what we do here at KMOX. And Bernie, I'll ask you your takeaways, but I want to throw this at you first because the thing that really jumped out at me today was I loved his answer on why not call it a rebuild, because basically he said you call it a rebuild, it gives you the opportunity to say, well, we've already accomplished what we need to accomplish for the moment because we have a timeline and we don't need to hit this until this certain day. So he doesn't have a problem with other people calling it a rebuild, but it's not something that he wants to call it.
Yeah, I got a better understanding of his thinking. And by the way, I think there's some merit to what he has been saying, in different ways, which is, if you don't get hung up on a timetable and you have to meet a certain timetable and you put pressure on yourself because you sense that maybe fans are getting a little impatient. So then you start deviating from your big plan, that you are got to be really, really disciplined about it in terms of executing, not taking shortcuts, not rushing into something to try to get a round of applause or whatever. That's when things go off the tracks. But if you stick to your plan and you have the discipline to just continue to execute it, it'll take care of itself. And I do believe Chaim Bloom is correct. If you stick to your plan and you don't deviate, you're going to end up in a really good spot with it. And there's no reason to actually say, well, it'll happen by this date. Because you don't know, you're going to have people get hurt. You're going to have some prospects that, may go bust. It's really silly, this idea of a timetable. And I really do understand where he's coming from. I appreciate the fact he's not getting caught up in all of the timetable chatter. Because just do the job that you were hired to do, because he does it as well as anybody out there in baseball. And I got complete faith in him in terms of rebuilding this team, just as he's already off to a great start of rebuilding this farm system. So I'm good with whatever timetable there is, even though if he's not going to mention a timetable specifically.
This is going to sound like semantics, but it's not. There is a difference between not saying the word rebuild and not believing that it's a rebuild. They believe it's a rebuild, and the actions are going to back that up simply because they don't want to say it, because all of a sudden he views that as a way to put in built-in excuses. If you want an organization where every single person involved in it every single day is trying to accomplish the most amount possible, no matter if what you're trying to get done today actually wasn't projected to get done a year from now, then that is the right way to go about it. I've got no problem with him having that attitude. And honestly, I think it says more about him and his leadership than it does about what's actually happening with the Cardinals right now.
Yeah. And listen, he puts pressure on himself because he's a really smart guy and he's got a lot of pride and he's got a really great reputation within the game. So of course he wants to be a standout president of baseball operations, but he's going to be pure about it. I mean, he's very disciplined in terms of like, this is the plan, this is what we have to do, and we're just going to take it step by step by step, and not getting distracted by stuff. And I think that's really smart. That's one of the reasons why he's such a good to great executive, because he keeps his eyes on the prize and he doesn't get all in a tizzy and knocked off course. So, here it's a great fit too, because, he and Bill DeWitt believe in the same things about team building, especially with player development and the draft and everything else. So he's in a place where his skills in this very important area are going to be appreciated by the owner, and they're very much on the same page. And I think they make a good partnership, just the way Bill DeWitt and Jeff Luhnow did. Although people want to forget that for some reason. That was a huge turning point for the Cardinals.
Yeah, when we come back after the news, I want the other two, or like really the three areas he talked about that I want to touch on with you, Bernie. Talked a little bit about the Milwaukee Brewers and what you can learn from them, and he has a connection to that organization through who runs the Brewers baseball operations now, a guy that he worked along with in Tampa, and Matt Arnold. He gave his thoughts on why Oliver Marmol's going to be back, and he also gave some thoughts on what he expects out of the DeWitts in terms of, maybe expects is the wrong word, but what he thinks he's going to get in terms of resources from ownership. And a lot of those things, I think, go against sort of the mainstream narratives that are out there about the Cardinals. So I want to touch on all that coming up in just a few moments. We're going to take a break for now. We'll get a check of traffic. We'll get bottom of the hour news. And then alongside Bernie Miklasz, I'm Matt Pauley. We'll be back with more Rush Hour Sports coming up in just a few minutes right here on KMOX.
Sawyer Brown.
Some girls don't like boys like me. Oh, but some girls do.
And Lone Star.
Every little thing that you do. Baby, I'm a
Live Saturday, March 14th, the Family Arena. Get tickets Friday at noon at the Carroll House Furniture Box Office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. Don't miss Sawyer Brown and Lone Star together live.
This is Justin Brown with Krins Financial Group. For over 6 decades, we've helped St. Louis families and businesses plan with purpose and live with confidence. As retirement approaches, one question matters most. How will you replace your paycheck? With decades of experience, we've helped retirees turn uncertainty into clarity through personalized income planning and steady guidance. Our proactive strategies are designed so you can enjoy the retirement you worked your lifetime for, with clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. Your goals, our mission. Start today at kfgadvisors.com.
Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc. Member FINRA/SIPC. Prince Financial Group is our broker-dealer.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th. So go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Missouri can count on.
Welcome to Coffee House. How are you today?
Hi, great, thanks. May I get a sea salt caramel latte with almond milk, extra caramel, extra shot, iced,
Gross.
and to go, please. Did you get all that?
No, I was just ringing you up for all the extras. Can you repeat your order, please?
Oh, never mind. I'm just going to go.
Stop paying extra for extras. Get fancy coffee without the fancy coffee price at Quick Trip. Raise your coffee bar.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
This is Megan Lynch. 250 doctors go to Ophthalmology Associates. That's why I trust them. Ophthalmology Associates, 314-966-5000 or youridoc.com.
It is 5:29, and the news is sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. The FAA issues an official ground delay for flights into Nashville with an average holdup of over 2 hours. The ground delay is due to a shortage of air traffic controllers. It's expected to last until midnight. Some flights may be diverted, delayed, or canceled. Flights that are allowed to land at Nashville will coordinate with the regional ATC in Memphis. There are some delays being reported at Lambert Airport this afternoon. I'm Maria Keenas following developments.
Michael, here's what we know so far. The majority of the delayed flights is with Southwest at 7. American has 2, United has 2, and Delta has 1. Now, those are changing throughout the evening. We believe these delays are related to air traffic controllers and TSA workers calling off. As you mentioned, other airports are experiencing much more significant delays. So far, we put calls into the FAA to confirm these problems, but they have not returned our call as yet. But you're encouraged to go to flystl.com if you have a flight out of Lambert Field today or tomorrow. Michael?
St. Louis City Sheriff Alfred Montgomery might be removed from office ahead of his trial.
Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway is looking to move quickly, filing a motion for a potential summary judgment against the embattled sheriff with a little over a month until his trial. Her motion argues that there are enough refutable facts on 3 of the counts against Montgomery to remove him from office now. Those counts are that Montgomery has refused his duty to transport detainees in need of medical care, along with illegally detaining the deputy jail director and having an employee transport his kids to and from school. Surveillance footage shows the last 2 counts happening. If the judge signs with her in a hearing, Hanaway could have Sheriff Montgomery removed as sheriff without the trial being necessary. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk for tonight, clear sky 53. For tomorrow, sunshine 75. Right now it's 70 downtown. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Hey St. Louis, this is Ben Barnett, board certified master arborist and owner at Timberline Professional Tree Care. As a local small business owner for the past 24 years, I always do my best to shop local and support our community. Recently, 2 of the largest tree contractors in the region have sold to out-of-town investment groups. This means that the new owners of these companies are not invested in quality, customer satisfaction, or safety, except for how it affects their bottom line. Timberline Professional Tree Care was founded in 2001 and is focused solely on giving you, the customer, the safest, highest quality product while providing the best customer service before, during, and after the job. I've poured my heart and soul into tree care for the past 24 years, and we aren't going anywhere. When it comes time to take care of your trees, I ask that you shop local and call me, Ben Barnett, at Timberline Professional Tree Care, 636-479-7475, or online at stltreecare.com.
I met my wife in law school at the University of Florida. She was from upstate New York and I was from Kentucky. We met at a daily mass at St. Augustine's. She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen in my life. After communion, I followed her out of the church and got her phone number. The rest is history. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Little did we know that one day we would have 4 children and the largest injury firm in the world. All 4 work in the business. It's a family business. Did I ever see this coming? Hell no. We just worked very hard and treated our clients like we would want to be treated, like family. It's a full-service injury firm, auto accidents, medical malpractice, workers' compensation, Social Security, and insurance disputes. We're open 24/7, 365 days a year. Visit forthepeople.com and we can get to work on your case. No recovery, no fee. Morgan & Morgan, for the people. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hey Dave, it's Tamara, the flavor temptress, and your good friend from Clementine's Ice Cream. I just wanted to say congratulations on 25 years. Not only are you the sexiest man in daytime radio, but you're probably the only man with the best looking feet. Here's to the next 25. Cheers to you, my friend.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-536-9607. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-536-9607 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-536-9607 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-536-9607.
At Sandberg Phoenix, we're more than just a law firm. Our attorneys are committed to you, your business, and your community. We are ready to serve you in the areas of business litigation, intellectual property, health law, and products liability. SandbergPhoenix.com. The choice of lawyers is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
Rush Hour Sports continues on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
That's Bernie Miklasz. I'm Matt Pauley. Welcome back in. Rush Hour Sports does roll on here on KMOX. We take you till 6 o'clock this evening, then I'll go solo 6 to 8 for Sports Open Line. We're talking a lot about what Chaim Bloom had to say today. He was on the Gas House Gang with Bernie, Tom, and Ranj. And Bernie, we got this from Steve. It says, I wasn't for Ali, Romania's manager. However, after listening to Mr. Bloom during several podcasts, I trust in Chaim. He could teach a class in leadership. Totally impressed. I appreciate that message. And I think it's a really lazy narrative to say, well, Ali's back, so everything else is staying the same. There's going to be major changes. It just so happens that the manager, who's probably going to do things differently as well, is going to stick around.
Listen, it is so important to have it's become a cliche, so I apologize, but to have an alignment between ownership, the front office, and the field manager, plus the coaches. It is a huge plus when everyone is on the same page about the philosophy, the plan, what the priorities are. And that means they're going to have honest discussions. They're going to kick things around. It isn't going to be a dictatorship out there for anybody. They're all part of the same team, and there's a degree of harmony that you really, really need, a sense of shared purpose you really, really need when you're entering a phase like this. The people, listen, I respect anybody's opinion about what they think about Ollie Marmol. The only thing I would hope for is they would actually base it on baseball rather than some personal dislike. And the other thing I really don't understand, and I've mentioned this so many times, like I think we all agree. In fact, Matt, watching the playoffs right now, and also I went back and did a review of all of the people the Cardinals had in the playoffs over the years, pitchers, relievers, position players, and it was almost depressing because the lack of talent on this team. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean or negative. The lack of talent virtually in every area on this team is glaring. It is a major, major problem. And what I don't understand are the people that don't take that in consideration when they go negative on Ollie Marmol. Like, how many games was he supposed to win this year? I mean, over the last 2 years, he's won 11 more games than he should have, according to underlying metrics. I was privy to a really confidential study done by like a proprietary, analytics company. And what they did, he put out this huge report about which managers in baseball over the last couple of years are the best in terms of the timing of their relief decisions, pulling a starter, bringing in a reliever, switching a reliever out. And I'll just say this, Ollie Marmol was in the top 2, okay? And that's why they also, the last couple of years, had a .561 winning percentage in one-run games, and why they've had so many comebacks. He handles the bullpen so well, it gives them a chance to win games they have no business winning. So I'm not sure. I have to assume that it's some type of personal disdain in most cases. But, why would they think, like, if a fan hated the rosters Mo put together, they don't think that DeWitt spends enough, and they think this is wrong, and the player development system, the drafting and developing has been wrong. If all this stuff has been wrong and we have all spent hours criticizing it, what do these people expect Ollie Marmol to do? It makes no sense.
I don't know. And I also think most Cardinals fans would trade places with the Milwaukee Brewers in a split second. And look at what's happened with the Brewers over the last 10 years. They've changed out president of baseball operations, going from David Stearns to Matt Arnold. Didn't lose a beat. They've changed managers from Craig Counsell to Pat Murphy. Didn't lose a beat. They've changed pitching coaches from Derek Johnson to Chris Hook, and didn't lose a beat. They've had 9 million hitting coaches in the last 10 years. Like, it's what was instilled. And Matt Arnold was a guy who worked for David Stearns and then moved into that. To win consistently at the big league level, it has to be the organization. It's not just one single person. So to sit here and say, oh, this guy's the reason they're losing. No, the reason the Cardinals have not won as much as you want them to win is because they did not have the infrastructure that was needed to do it.
They don't have enough talent. It's gotten worse. They don't have much to build around. They've counted on players that they thought would become really good, terrific young players who have been flops or at least extremely disappointing. And the Cardinals have a lot of hard work to do. And so this whole thing, turning this into some like sophomoric, simplistic solution. Oh, you got to change the manager. Like, that'll solve everything. Seriously, a lot of Cardinals fans are staying away from the ballpark because they don't want to watch this team, and they don't have faith in ownership or whatever their reasons. So if you don't like the talent, you don't like the product, you don't like the commitment to the product, why do you want to blame it on the manager?
It's a good question.
You don't think Ollie Marmol wants more talent and a better front office and more resources and more depths and more opportunities to win. What, you think he's loafing on the job or something? This stuff makes no sense. And the more I hear about it, the less I respect it, because, they don't have enough talent, period.
That's the bottom line. We'll get more into what Heim said today on Gas House Gang in just a moment. But first, we got to take a quick break for a look at traffic.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
So we still got the roadwork delays on westbound 5570 Mathis. Traffic reports a service of the Sandberg Phoenix Law Firm. Still a backup about midway in from 255, most of the way to 111. Westbound Highway 70, still some slow stuff from the airport out to about the Rock Road. It's backed up TR Hughes through Highway K, and after that, no big deal. If you're on westbound 64, Science Center headed out through Bellevue's heavy. Lindbergh out to 270 slow. From K, most of the way to Winghaven, and then west of Lake St. Louis Boulevard to 70 heavy. 364 approaching Mid-River, sort of crowded. Both directions between Manchester and Olive on 270 are busy. After that, it's not a big deal. Southbound 55 isn't a big deal either. It looks like we're pretty much good to go there for you. Westbound 44 is still busy past the Poplar. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Continuing on with Rush Hour Sports alongside of Bernie Miklasz, I'm Matt Pauley. A couple of things that Heim Bloom talked about today on Gas House Gang that I want to talk through a bit. I thought the resources needed to win being given by ownership was a big part of the conversation today. And it was kind of also grouped into just having faith in the DeWitts that they're going to do what they have them do after what he went through in Boston with ownership that really did an about face with him. I thought it was interesting. He mentioned two things. He said the track record of this organization says that when they need to spend money, when they need to invest resources, they're going to. And Bernie Heim also talked about he's told them everything that this organization needs, and everybody's on the same page. There's been no pushback. Maybe there's a little bit of a ramp up. They didn't do everything at once. There's going to be more people being added this year. They didn't just hire every single staff member last year. It's going to continue to happen. They may not have a GM in place until next offseason, but it seems like there's a lot of faith and confidence that the resources that are needed from ownership will be given to Bloom and company.
Well, there's a track record there. I know their payroll this past season was really, really low on their side, but I understand the reasons why. But I've told this story before, and I asked Heim Bloom about it today, and he laughed because I included the part because Bill DeWitt told me when Heim Bloom made his presentation, basically his job interview pitch, like, what's your plan for the Cardinals? He talked for 3 hours. And the DeWitts were blown away by how thoroughly prepared he was, how he studied everything in that organization, every aspect. He didn't miss a thing. He was comprehensive. He was on point. He didn't tell them what they wanted to hear. He told them the truth about how this is really bad, how this really needs to be fixed. And they were blown away. And DeWitt joked. He said, the only problem, I said, in other words, that presentation was really impressive. He said, it was amazing. He said, the only thing I didn't like about it is, at some point I had, have to go to the bathroom. And he just kept going on and on and on and on. And that was just a joke. And I told Heim Bloom that. He laughed. He loved it. But this is a Jeff Luhnow, Bill DeWitt thing all over again, except with all due respect to Jeff Luhnow and what he did in St. Louis, which was pretty huge. Heim Bloom's a very honorable man and a team player, and he's not in this for glory. He reveres Cardinals history, and he wants to me, he feels it's almost like an obligation as a baseball lifer to get the Cardinals, the great historically prominent Cardinals, back on track. This is like a calling to him. So people should be excited that he took the job.
I hope one day we get a little bit more insight on what this past year really looked like, because I know there's a ton of mutual respect between John Mozeliak and Heim Bloom. And I know how the DeWitts feel about Mo. Obviously, the DeWitts have really come to appreciate Heim during this whole period. Heim's basically going to the DeWitts and saying, your baby's ugly in many ways. And then they all kind of sit through a year together where some of the infrastructure work started to get done, but the heavy lifting is starting now. And you got these people in offices. Like, it's a really weird thing that just played out over the last year.
It is. And listen, John Mozeliak and Heim Bloom made it work as well as they can. And they do have mutual respect for each other. And Heim tried to, be really rigid about observing boundaries. He didn't want to cross the line. But that said, you're Mo and you're on your way out. and you're emotional, and you know that everyone in town's ripping you, and people don't appreciate you the way they used to. And then here's this new guy who's going to be the problem solver, the rescue artist, and all this stuff. And even though Mo really likes Chaim Bloom and respects him, Chaim Bloom is working in the background with Mo's blessings. Like, he's taking players out to lunch to pick their brains about things and what's going wrong here. And it was just awkward. It was just awkward. There was no dissension, but it was just so uneasy, even with these two guys who tried really hard to make it work, and they did for the most part. But this is not a normal situation, and it would be stupid for any of us to think that it was. I think at times it was very uncomfortable for both guys, and I get it. I really do get it.
And it goes it's beyond just those two. Rob Serfolio walks into St. Louis to work for Chaim Bloom, but he's got to work for Mo for a year. And I got the sense from Serfolio that he really learned a lot from Mo and appreciated. He told me once about treasuring being able to sit in every single home game, sitting in a suite and watching the game with Mo, so he could kind of hear what Mo was seeing. That's valuable. But the fact that a lot of the Mo people were removed prior to this past season, Chaim people were brought in, but Mo is still the boss. That's another aspect of this thing that's just weird.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are differences of opinion on players, but Mo stepped back on that, and he deferred to Chaim Bloom. I think he was really cool about letting Chaim Bloom, what's the word, kind of make his own conclusions by studying his own sets of analytics and all this other stuff. I think they probably, when I say disagree, I don't mean they were disagreeable, but I think that they had different views on certain players, where maybe one guy was more positive than the other or whatever. So very uncomfortable spot to be in. I think both of those guys handled it about as well as they can. And I think now we have clarity. And the only thing I think we're waiting to see is that he's probably not going to bring a general manager in for this year because he's got other things he's got to tend to. I think he wants to look at some people already there to determine, hey, I got to be fair to them. We may have our general manager here already. So he's trying to be really fair to the people that have given many years of their life to the St. Louis Cardinals, and not just doing this thing where, well, I'm the new guy, so I'm going to throw everybody out. Like, even if they're really good at their jobs, well, you know how it is. I'm the new guy. I got to have my own people. He's put his ego aside. He really wants to take a long, up-close look at everybody in that baseball operation before he jumps to conclusions. Why jump to conclusions?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's good.
Last break. We'll take a break here, and we'll come back. We'll wrap up the program as it is Rush Hour Sports alongside of Bernie Miklasz. I'm Matt Pauley here on KMOX.
Progressive's Teen Driver Discount could lower the cost of insurance for your teenager and save you some money. And then you can still spend money on them. Because just when you think you have a grasp on spending, new sneakers. And then it's money for a school field trip. And of course, spending money. Oh yeah, and a new phone to replace the one they dropped in the toilet. Oh, don't remind me. So just get Progressive's Teen Driver Discount. And then you can continue to spend money on them endlessly. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states and subject to terms and conditions.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Glover here for my friends at Cantor Injury Law. Cantor is local, and we're here doing the work every day. We're right here in St. Louis, and we're ready to fight for you. CantorInjuryLaw.com or call 314-628-9999.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be solely based on advertisements.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed. That's right, weight loss seminar at the Marriott St. Louis West in St. Louis at 11 a.m. Registration 10:30 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Registration 1:30 p.m.
At CertaPro Painters, we know that a happy place comes in many colors, like ones that inspire a sense of wonder, or a new flavor that makes life just a little bit sweeter, or one to celebrate those moments that lift you to new heights. With thousands of 5-star reviews, you can trust us to bring happiness home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, things are looking a lot better out there. We still have a little bit of a roadwork backup, however. Westbound 5570 midway in from 255, most of the way to 111. Not a solid jam, but pretty busy. South 170 backs up at Ladue down to 64. Eastbound 64 from approaching 170 to Big Ben's heavy. Westbound 64, Hampton, Clayton, Skinker a little heavy. Looks like we have an incident west of Spady. I can't see what's blocked, but there is a jam at Lindbergh through Spady on westbound 64, and there's still slow stuff from 94 midway out to Winghaven and from Lake St. Louis Boulevard out to Highway 70. Westbound 70 still heavy from the airport out to the Rock Road. There's slow stuff from 79 through Highway K, but then you're back on track. South 270, Olive down to Ladue, North 270, 64 to Ladue, just a little busy. Northbound 55, some slow traffic approaching 67 down in Festus. I'm Roger Brand in the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Just a couple minutes left here in the program alongside of Bernie Miklasz. I'm Matt Pauley. We've got Sports Open Line beginning just after the 6 o'clock news, so don't go anywhere. Bernie, I'm going to switch gears for just a couple minutes here before we roll out. Last night, Monday Night Football, Jaguars knock off the Chiefs. I was a little bit surprised by that. While I don't think the Chiefs are as good as the super upper echelon of the NFL, like the Buffalo Bills, I thought they were in that next group. And even with the Jaguars going in yesterday at 3-1, I thought you had to get to another tier down before you got to Jacksonville. But I don't know. You watched that game last night. The Jaguars stuck around, and then they were able to make a play late to win the game. And maybe I'm overvaluing the Chiefs and undervaluing the Jaguars, but I was a little surprised last night.
The Jaguars are better than people think, and a big reason is and we saw it last night. They have feasted on turnovers. They have a tremendous turnover ratio, and they are winning games because of it. I also think Liam Cohen's a better head coach than people realize. I even question that. Yeah. Listen, on a personal level, I'm really happy to see the Jaguars at 4-1 because the Gladstone family is literally my next door neighbors. And the general manager of the Jaguars, James Gladstone, grew up like less than 100 yards from where I'm sitting right now. And his father and mother are great people. So I'm like really fired up when they win, right? Mm-hmm. And that was pretty cool. The Chiefs are way too sloppy. 13 penalties last night. The pick six when they're moving in to score. I mean, on and on and on and on. All kinds of mistakes. They're just not tight. They're not playing sharp football. Something's not right with this team, and it isn't just talent. I'm a little surprised that they're so sloppy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd. Now they haven't had everybody together quite yet, but they're getting healthier. They're probably not a team that can go add much in season. You do start to wonder, is that window starting to close, or at least on this version of it? And that doesn't mean we saw it with the Patriots. Tom Brady had 2 separate championship windows during his career. So just because this window is closing doesn't mean they can't reopen it again. You get to do that when you've got an elite quarterback, but it does seem like the Chiefs are absolutely missing something right now.
And Chris Jones taking all kinds of criticism today because it looked like he was not hustling on a critical play late in the game. He's got former NFL players calling him out. I mean, so that's a sign of unrest or trouble because Chris Jones isn't like that. So I don't know that the morale is real good over in Kansas City right now, but as long as you have Mahomes, you'll be able to rebuild around him, and it won't take as long as it would if you're trying to rebuild around Joe Flacco or something. You know, he's a gift.
Joe Flacco got traded. Did you see that?
I saw that. He's going to be 78 years old and still quarterbacking somebody, right?
I mean, he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Bengals before this season is over.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt. That's really funny.
It is. He failed at where he was at, and so they move on from. Well, Bernie, this is great. I always enjoy being able to work with you, and we'll have you back on, I guess, coming up on Friday.
Looking forward to it, man. And Matt, love you, and thanks for having me on. Take care.
That's Bernie Miklasz. I'm Matt Pauley. Don't go anywhere. Just because Rush Hour Sports is wrapping up does not mean our sports programming is wrapping up. We're going to get into Sports Open Line. Have a busy program tonight. We'll talk hockey with Amy Marks, of course. We'll talk playoffs with former Brewers pitcher Jerry Augustine, and we'll talk Heim Bloom with Rob Raines, who wrote a really, really good piece. That's all coming up in just a few moments. Sports Open Line is next here on KMOX.
Welcome to Willie's Wings, home of the secret sauce.
I'll take a dozen wings. Oh, by the way, I love that sauce. What's in it?
Can't tell you.
Why not?
It's a secret.
While many financial advisors claim to have the secret sauce, they don't. In fact, if their sauce is so good, why are they keeping it a secret? Steve All of the All Financial Group doesn't keep anything a secret. He knows there's much more to retirement planning than stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. He'll develop a strategy designed specifically for you. It's your own secret sauce for retirement. Call Steve today at 636-230-8824 for your personal portfolio x-ray. Call 636-230-8824 or online at
Sauce.
Absolutely.
Tablespoon of paprika.
Really?
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-207-4545. That's 800-207-4545. Once again, that's 800-207-4545.
Seal out drafts, dust, and moisture with MD brand weather stripping from Menards. A well-sealed home is more comfortable and energy efficient. We have the largest selection of in-stock weather stripping with over 100 products available to take home and start lowering your energy bills today. Save big money on weather stripping right now at Menards and check out our weekly flyer on menards.com for more great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards. Changing the weather.
Fall.
Changing the weather.
Weather.
Something's happening here.
Temps turning cooler. Days getting shorter. We'll help you weather the weather with the latest forecast from 2 meteorologists and severe weather coverage when needed from the Salika Heating and Cooling Storm Center.
Changing the weather.
The weather. We've got it covered on 104.1 FM KMOX. Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we've still got backed up traffic on westbound 5570 midway in from 255 most of the way to 111. And just a little heads up, tomorrow morning in the 8 o'clock hour, they're going to start working eastbound in that same area, more emergency repair work. And then it'll go through Friday at 3:30. So it won't last through the rush hour Friday, but it'll impact you tomorrow afternoon for sure. So we're going to have backups both ways on 5570, at least for tomorrow, to have to deal with. Westbound Highway 70 from Air Flight out to the Rock Road, still slow. It's a little busy just past 61 after that. If you're on westbound 64, bogged down Clayton Warson out to a point west of Spady. We had an incident. It looks like it's cleared, but still a lot of congestion. And then it's slow approaching Prospect out to 70 on the Westplex. Southbound 55 is back on track, but northbound 55, you do have a backup, not quite midway back to 61, but approaching 67 in that work zone. It is bumper to bumper through there right now. Southbound 170, heavy from the Parkway down to 64, and eastbound 64, a little slow through the intervals. I'm Roger Brand in the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Mid-America's most trusted voice for news. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Airport delays amid government shutdown.
We're looking at staffing issues play out again today.
Plunging illegal southern border crossings.
This is truly a stunning turnaround.
Israel remembering 2 years since Hamas attacks.
I'm here to commemorate those who have died.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Frustration for air travelers during the government shutdown. Airports and cities including Denver, Newark, and Burbank have experienced air traffic controller shortages. Nashville's tower is expected to be dark until midnight and will get help from the Memphis Center 200 miles away. CBS's Chris Van Cleve.
There are, if normally 5 controllers are working and they can handle 50 airplanes, now there are 2. Well, they're not going to handle 50 airplanes. They're going to handle 20 airplanes, 25 airplanes. So that's delays. That's the potential for cancellation. So far, what we have seen are the delays. We are seeing more of these staffing issues than are normal.
Now there's uncertainty about whether or not furloughed federal workers will get back pay.
There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way.
CBS News has learned the White House's Office of Management and Budget is circulating a draft memo suggesting federal employees may not be entitled to back pay despite a 2019 law signed by President Trump after the last government shutdown. Trump also said he will be announcing layoffs and the elimination of some federal programs within the next 4 or 5 days if the shutdown continues.
A lot of those jobs will never come back.
That's CBS's Erica Brown reporting. Illegal U.S.-Mexico border crossings plummet to the lowest annual level since 1970. CBS's Camilo Montoya Galvez.
Border Patrol over the past 8 months has averaged less than 9,000 apprehensions of migrants every 30 days. And that is a number that the Biden administration recorded in 24-hour time spans during many days in 2023 and 2024.
A rabbi who's a father of a hostage marks 2 years since Hamas's attacks killed over 1,200 people in Israel. For this woman,
the need is to commemorate what happened, to let the world know what happened, and to remember and not to forget.
CBS's Haley Ott in Tel Aviv.
Even on this somber day here in Israel, that war in Gaza grinds on. Over 67,000 people have been killed in Gaza over the last 2 years, according to the Hamas-run Ministry of Health there. And the humanitarian situation is catastrophic, with at least 116 people killed in the time since the White House announced its peace proposal.
Now this.
Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Not only does Progressive let you bundle your insurance, they also give you round-the-clock protection. Quote today at Progressive.com.
At 6:03, it's a cloudy sky and 68 degrees downtown at the Arch. St. Louis police are taking a more direct approach to addressing the downtown open-air drug markets. Does this impact the big picture approach?
When does it get to the point that something elevates to an arrest being made? When we have enough.
Police spokesman Mitch McCoy's answer in July when I asked him about the open-air drug market behind Soldiers Memorial. Now, for the last week, police have changed their approach, allocating more resources to those open-air drug markets, resulting in at least 9 arrests. McCoy says bigger fish with a larger impact remain the department's priority, adding this.
We're not stopping. Actually, we have great information and intel that we're working with right now to make a bigger splash.
McCoy says the department needs to remain focused on bigger drug dealers over wasting resources on slap-on-the-wrist low-level offenses. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
Illinois Senator Dick Durbin and Attorney General Pam Bondi got into it over National Guard troops in Chicago.
Senator Durbin said he just wanted an answer to a simple question: what's the rationale for sending troops? Bondi wouldn't say. She said Durbin voted to shut down the government, adding,
I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump.
She said if you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
Been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack.
Bondi also refused to say whether she had any conversations with anyone in the White House about troops in American cities.
That's Mike Krauser in Chicago. Missouri U.S. Senator Josh Hawley reacts after learning his phone records were collected as part of the January 6th investigation.
Gee, it sure looks like targeting political opponents to me, and yet I haven't heard a word from that side of the dais about any concern whatsoever. We've got nothing but concerns today, but no concern at all for a Justice Department that is tapping the phones of sitting United States senators because who knows why.
A document released yesterday by Senate Republicans shows the FBI reviewed lawmakers' call logs and duration, but not the actual content of their calls, which would be a wiretap as part of the probe. The future of unregulated slot machines in Missouri is now in the hands of a federal judge after a jury found Torch Electronics made false statements about its games in a lawsuit brought by a business competitor. The jury's verdict clears the way for the judge to issue a formal ruling, possibly next month, on whether the machines violate state gambling laws. A ruling against Torch could prompt prosecutors across Missouri to take action against the thousands of machines that are now in gas stations and bars. Some UFL changes announced today.
The United Football League has announced not only 3 new teams, Columbus, Louisville, and Orlando, replacing San Antonio, Michigan, and Memphis, but they've also started a strategy of playing in smaller, more intimate soccer venues. Houston is going to play in the home of the Houston Dynamo. Dallas, formerly Arlington, now the Dallas Renegades, will move to Toyota Stadium, home of FC Dallas. Columbus, Louisville, and Orlando will play in MLS stadiums as well. The only ones who aren't? The Birmingham Stallions. They'll remain at Protective Stadium, capacity 47,000. The Battlehawks will play at the biggest venue, the 66,000-seat Dome at America's Center. Tom Ackerman, KMOX Sports.
And let's take you to Roger Brand.
Well, highways are looking pretty good to wrap it up this evening, Michael. As traffic reports the service of Glory Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty, heading home on westbound 64. You still have a bit of a backup from Clayton Warson out through Spady. We had an incident west of Spady. It's bumper to bumper there. A little bit of a backup right as you hit the Boone Bridge, and a little slow at Prospect. South 170, Brentwood to 64. That's a little slow. Westbound 5570 still has that road work backup midway in from 255. Goes most of the way to 111, and northbound 67, there's roadwork delays northbound 55, roadwork delays approaching 67 down in the Festus area. Otherwise, the rest of these highways are wrapping up in great shape. I'm Roger Brand in the Michael's Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
No question, our fall temperatures are finally back into place. Some delightful weather the next couple of days. Clear skies, temperatures primarily in the 60s this evening. 53 will do it for the overnight low. On Wednesday, sunny and nice, looking for a high of 75 degrees. Wednesday night, clear. Let's call it chilly, 49 degrees. Thursday, sunny and 73. Thursday night, clear, 47. Friday, sunny, 78 degrees. A little warmer over the weekend, but sunshine. Saturday, 81. Sunday, 84 degrees. No rain in sight. We need it, but it's tough to get in October. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Center, I'm meteorologist A. Murray on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
68 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Come on, let's get going now.
From KMOX Sports.
We're primed and ready. All day, baby. Man, let's go.
This is the Gray Bar Sports Open Live. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Here we go on a Tuesday night. Welcome in. It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. Great to have you with us tonight, taking you all the way until 8 o'clock. We've got a lot coming up on the program today. First off, if you want to chime in with what we're talking about, you could do so by calling or texting 314-436-7900. That's 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet at me, at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. And for those of you who are watching the video stream on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, you can leave a comment in the chat, and we can get to that as we go along. We've got a bunch coming up on the show tonight. Amy Marks, of course, is going to be with us. Of course, you hear her during Chris and Amy, but we always call her Hockey Amy when she comes here because we talk hockey, and she is awesome talking hockey, so much so that the folks over at Channel 4 and Matrix Midwest have brought her in. She and Chris Kerber are going to be doing a weekly Blues TV show, so we'll talk a little bit about that and also give her thoughts on the Blues as the season opens up on Thursday night. The hockey season is getting underway today. 3 games are being played today, so a happy hockey season for those of you who celebrate. The NHL season is officially started, and the first game of the day, Blackhawks-Panthers, that game is tied 2-2 through the 2 periods. Penguins are going to match up against the Rangers, and the Avalanche and Kings are going to play tonight as well. So Hockey Amy's going to join us in about 10 minutes here on the program. Later on this hour, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on. And I think the baseball playoff series that is of most interest to Cardinals fans, it's the Brewers and the Cubs. Milwaukee won their first 2 games at home. Now the series is shifting to Chicago for game number 3. Jerry Augustine, a former Brewers pitcher who does pregame and postgame work on radio with the Brewers. He is going to join us coming up at about 6:35. And then next hour at 7, just right out of the gates after the 7 o'clock news, we're going to talk with Rob Raines. Rob, of course, has covered the Cardinals for a long time, STLSportspage.com. I wanted to bring him on today because he wrote a really long piece about Chaim Bloom that takes you through Chaim's baseball journey. He talked with a number of people who were part of that journey. It goes all the way back to, well, it goes back to Chaim growing up, but from a baseball career standpoint, goes back to when he was in college and in 2003, spending time at the baseball winter meetings, just trying to find a job in baseball and everything that he's done, and just the path that he took. And we all have unique paths to get to wherever we happen to be, but it certainly was that a unique path for Chaim Bloom. And we're going to talk with Rob Raines coming up in just a little while. Also, at about 7:30 or so, if you missed the conversation that Chaim had with the Gas House Gang today, it was Tom Ackerman, Chris Ranji, and Bernie Miklasz. Chaim was on for a good half hour or so today, and they talked about a bunch of stuff. It was a really great conversation, and I would encourage you to go back and listen to the whole thing from start to finish. But in case you didn't hear it, or if you just want to hear my thoughts on it, what we're going to do at about 7:30 is we're going to play back a lot of what Chaim had to say and kind of go through the key points. Here were the things that I took away from Chaim's conversation today. I thought it was notable, the things he said about Oliver Marmol and the things that he noticed about Ollie, really appreciating. He wasn't discounting so much the in-game strategy or X's or O's or anything like that, but it was more about the culture inside the clubhouse, the way players wanted to play for Ollie. He really appreciated that, and that was a lot of the reasons for bringing Ollie back next year. So you hear from that. You'll also there's many, as many Cardinal fans that are frustrated that Oliver Marmol is going to be back. I feel like that same group of Cardinals fans feel like it's an ownership group that does not give the resources needed. I would push back on both those things, and I would very much push back. But Chaim talked about ownership and the DeWitts and the resources that are needed, and not just needed, but have been needed in the past tense, because he's somebody who put together he did a full audit of the organization during his first year in the organization, and then presented it to the DeWitts. And then coming out of that, it was, okay, well, what's needed? And more people were needed. More technology was needed. More infrastructure was needed. And it continues to be needed. They're not where they want to be yet. I thought he at one point in the conversation, when talking about adding human capital to the organization, about adding more people, he said, you don't want it to be a clown car where all of a sudden 1 million people just get out of the car and all of a sudden they're all standing in the organization, that there has to be a plan to it. So this past year, they definitely added people. A lot of it was done in terms of player development, and they are going to continue to add people. They're going to add scouts. They're going to add a lot, and they're going to do the technology side of it, and they're going to do the infrastructure, and they're going to do everything. But I thought it was notable that, and look, I know these cynics will sit here and say, well, what is he going to say? He's been on the job for 15 minutes. He's going to talk bad about his bosses, the owners. Like, I get that might be part of a response, but I take Chaim to be somebody who's very genuine. And when he talks about the DeWitts and going to the DeWitts and telling them what is needed, and it's going to cost money, that, and basically getting agreement on it. And the second part of that was the return on investment. You could tell that it's very important to him that if you're going to go to the DeWitts and say, we need to spend X amount of dollars for this thing, and this thing, well, then there has to be a return. There has to be a reason why. How is this going to make the organization better? There has to be that return on investment. At the end of the day, the biggest return on investment is winning baseball games, right? Like there's dominoes that you push down where you bring in people and they help other people, and then those people help players get better, and then those players being better helps the team playing better, and because the team plays better, you win more games, eventually you win the biggest thing you can win at the end of the season, and you win a World Series. That's the goal, and they're hoping that there are a few dominoes in to that path, but there does have to be the return on investment. There does have to be a direct correlation to, we spent money on this, and this is the result of it. And I got the sense that Heim was very understanding and respectful of that process, that if he was going to ask for something, well, then there's a reason to ask for it, and you're going to get something out of it. So we're going to do a lot on that over the course of the program as well. Again, if you want to chime in, 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet at me, at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. For those of you who are watching on the video stream, we certainly appreciate you sticking with us, and you can leave a comment in the chat, and we'll address some of those as we do go along. We're going to switch gears, though. We're going to talk Blues hockey. Hockey Amy Marks, course, from the Chris and Amy Show, and also from a brand new TV program that she's going to be doing with Chris Kerber on Matrix Midwest. She's going to join us in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. It's the Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Sponsored by Gloria Lou, with your home sold guaranteed realty, 314-325-6888.
Need to sell your home and you want the most money? The name to remember is Gloria Lou. Yes, Gloria Lou, with your home sold guaranteed realty at 314-325-6888 and start packing.
It's easy to feel apprehensive about getting screened for cancer or to just keep putting it off. But Siteman Cancer Center wants to remind you how important it is, especially after the age of 40. And they also want you to know how easy it is to get it done. GetScreenedNow.com has all the information you need on cancers like prostate, breast, colon, lung cancer. You can also find out your risk of disease by answering just a few simple questions. And then you can find one of the hundreds of screening locations in the area. Even if you're a little farther out, there is probably a place near you. You have heard this before, but catching cancer early dramatically increases the odds of a successful treatment, especially with so many cancers showing up earlier in life. So do not be intimidated. Siteman will make the process as simple as possible. GetScreenedNow.com. Do it for your family and friends who count on you. Do it for yourself. Visit GetScreenedNow.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install a Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/deal for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/deal. See representative for warranty details.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Attention business owners with a net income over $500,000. You need to work with a tax strategist that understands your entrepreneurial mindset. Download the most recent white paper written by E3 Consultants Group titled the power of a professional tax strategy team. Go to e3wealth.com/radio to obtain a copy. It's time to learn about wealth and tax strategies that protect your personal and business economy. E3 is ready to help you think differently about your finances. Educate, empower, enlighten. That's the E3 difference.
The Musial Awards celebrates its 20th year on Saturday, November 22nd at Stiefel Theater. You can be in the audience for this nationally televised event hosted right here in St. Louis. It's a night to be entertained and inspired. Tickets at musialawards.com.
Don't miss Mosby Building Arts Home Improvement Show, Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on KMOX. One of the last call-in shows where you can get live answers to your remodeling, design, and construction questions. Tune in Saturdays at 11 a.m.
Now, back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Rolling on here on a Tuesday night, it is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Hockey season is officially underway. The NHL has 3 games being played tonight, one of them already underway going to the third period. Blackhawks and Panthers are tied 2-2 for the St. Louis Blues. They are going to be opening up their season coming up on Thursday night when they are going to match up against the Minnesota Wild. High expectations for the Blues going into the season. And talk about that and also a really cool opportunity that she's going to be doing this upcoming year. It is our good friend Amy Marks. Of course, you hear her on the Chris and Amy show, but when she makes her Sports Open Line appearances, she is Hockey Amy, and she joins us right now. Hey, Amy.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me on. I'm so glad Hockey Amy is back.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do this. I know you're doing weekly Gas House Gang appearances. We'll see how often we can get you here on Sports Open Line. But before we go any further, you had really big news earlier this week because you are expanding your Blues coverage with a TV show that you and Chris Kerber are going to be doing together.
Yeah, I am so honored. I'm so excited to do a weekly hockey show on Matrix Midwest with Chris Kerber. It's Offside Hockey with Kerbs and Amy, and it's an hour of hockey talk. We talk about the Blues. We talk about what's going on around the NHL, fun conversations, and I love it. I feel like it's my first true sports love with ice hockey. So being able to talk about the Blues with Kerbs is a lot of fun. He's a hoot.
He is. I'm really looking forward to it. I think a lot of people that hear you on Chris and Amy don't realize that you're really good at breaking down the sport of hockey. And obviously you were involved with our Blues radio broadcast when the Blues were here on KMOX. But it is it's a credit to you that the folks there at Channel 4 and Matrix Midwest recognize the fact that you know what you're talking about when you're talking hockey.
Oh, well, I really appreciate it. You know, I grew up as a rink rat. I was at the U.S. Ice Sports Complex, which then became the Hardee's Complex, which then got knocked down when, back, 30 years ago when the Blues practiced there. And I would hang out, I would interview the players and write for I was 11, 12 years old, Matt, and I would write a little Word document hockey newsletter with all my interviews with Al McInnes and Pavel Demitra and Joel Quenneville and Mark Bergevin and Tony Twist, Kelly Chase, you name it. And so that was where my love for hockey started. And then I played all through my teens and 20s. And so being able to be on the Blues broadcast with KMOX, and especially that they won their cup on KMOX, was just a thrill of a lifetime.
It's really, really cool. And I'm glad that you're able to do some more hockey stuff here moving forward. Like I mentioned, you'll do the TV show, you'll do Gas House Gang once a week. If we can get you, we may try to get you about that often here on Sports Open Line to talk Blues hockey. But the expectations this season, I say they're high because this is a really good team, but they're also playing in a stacked division, and just you look at the really good teams in the NHL, it's very wide open amongst a pretty large group of teams. How good do you think this team can be this year?
I know. I think maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm not. The Blues are going to be good. That's an objective opinion. I know Doug Armstrong a couple of years ago, even last year, we were talking about some kind of transition year. That's over. It's not a transition. That window of time where we thought, well, let's figure out what we've got. The Blues are there. They've arrived. They've got a fast team. They've got a competitive team. We saw what they could be. after the Four Nations Cup, struggling in the first half of the season, then being able to go on a run in the second half of the season with a long winning streak, bumping their power play up to third in the league after the Christmas break, and then going toe-to-toe with the Winnipeg Jets, who were arguably the best team in the league in that playoff series. So, I mean, yes, they could win the division. I don't think they have to win the division. I think even if they just kind of hang around for a bit, it's going to be such a competitive division that the difference between 1, 2, and 3 could be pretty minimal.
They brought in a couple guys during the offseason. Obviously, we saw them have a ton of success during the final month and a half and into the postseason. They were so close to pulling off an incredible upset in the first round, and that just doesn't happen. How much better can they be this season compared to the version of themselves they were down the stretch last season?
I think significantly, Matt. We saw the potential of Jimmy Snuggerud. Now you've got him playing on the top line with Buchnevich and Thomas. Thomas is the number one creator on the team, right? He's the playmaker. Buchnevich is the workhorse. Snuggerud, he's the shooter. He's the goal scorer, and we only got to see a glimpse of him last season. The contract extension that Doug Armstrong managed with Cam Fowler, adding on 3 years after this year, changes the trajectory of the defense. Now we have time to continue to develop players like Mayu. But Cam Fowler is the kind of guy, the kind of player that can control the pace of the game when the puck is on his stick. And this is a team that looks a bit different than the Craig Berube teams, which were focused more on throwing elbows, a lot of physicality. Not that this team's not physical, but on pace.
Hey, Amy, your cell phone just kind of died out a little bit. I was seeing if it was going to come back. We're gonna redial you real quick just to try to get a better connection. So, Daniel, if you can do that, we'll hang up and we'll try to get Amy back here in just a moment or so as we're continuing to preview the Blues season with Hockey Amy. And again, we're looking forward to seeing what she's going to be able to do with the TV show that she's going to be doing with Chris Kerber. Wanted to go through with her some of the other the thing that she just mentioned with Jimmy Snuggerud being alongside of Robert Thomas, and they were together through all of training camp, and it seems like this is a big key. I think those top two lines, though, and we'll see if it ends up being Suter or Shin really on that second line centering, but between Holloway and Kyrou, just those top two lines. So I think we've got Hockey Amy Mark Scores back with us.
Sorry about that.
No problem at all. It feels like these top two lines, and like we'll see if it's Suter centering the second line or Shin centering the second line.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems to be going back and forth at least a little bit. But when you look at the other pieces in there with Buchnevich, Thomas, Snuggerud, and then Holloway and Kyrou on that second line, it does feel like you've got two lines out there. And that's not, I'm a big Jake Neighbors guy. And he's going to be your third line winger. It feels like there's the opportunity for this team to be relentless on the ice, on always having a line out there that can legitimately go out there and score a goal.
Yeah, and then I don't know where I got cut off, but yes, when you focus on, as you mentioned, the Buchnevich, Thomas, Snuggerud line, right? Thomas with being the creator that he is, or the playmaker that he is, not only are you going to see him on the ice a lot, setting up a Jimmy Snuggerud, who's got a tricky shot, by the way, sneaky, deceitful. Goalies can't tell when it's coming, how it's coming. And so to have him playing with Thomas is key. Coach Jim Montgomery said that Thomas is going to be on the power play, obviously, as much as possible. So you've really got to focus on the power play and the penalty kill. You mentioned Jake Neighbors. He could bounce around. I mean, Buchnevich needs to be the workhorse on that team, but maybe we see 63 slide up to that spot, depending on how that goes. But the second line, as well, as you mentioned, they're pretty set. Doug Armstrong was on a podcast, I think it was yesterday, a couple days ago, with John Shannon and Dylan Millard on 100% Hockey. And it was really interesting what he said. He goes, we don't have a McDavid. We're not that one-star team, but we've got 6 or 7 guys that could be a top second line with any team in the league. And he said this Blues team is going to be fast and it's going to be death by 1,000 cuts, which was kind of an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Amy Marks, of course, continuing to join us. Just a couple more moments with her. From a defensive standpoint, and you mentioned earlier the extension for Cam Fowler, that top defensive pairing of Cam Fowler and Colton Parayko, it's so important, especially as you get into the playoffs, that you have that defensive pairing that you can always match up against another team's top line. How confident are you in that Fowler-Parayko pairing that they can be that upper echelon elite defensive pairing?
Very confident. And, that's not a given that 2 elite defensemen are going to meld and work together as the way that Fowler and Parayko have done. They get each other. They get the way the other plays. In fact, the last defensive pairing, I think that worked so well naturally together was Parayko and Bouwmeester. When you saw the way that those 2 were able to play together. And so this pairing for me, I think it's not just that Cam Fowler, like I said, is a great player who controls the pace of play, but it's the fact that he works so well with Parayko that the sum of the parts is greater than the individual. And I think they are going to be that elite defensive pair. They're going to get a lot of ice time. They're going to be workhorses, which makes a difference. Which makes a difference in this season that's condensed because of the Olympic break. That's why, you talk about a workload. Jordan Binnington and Joel Hofer, you have to have a strong goaltender pair. You can't, gone are the days of Grant Fuhr playing 80 games of the regular season, because the workload on the goaltenders is going to be enormous, and they're going to have to split it up because of that Olympic break and the way the games are condensed.
Last thing for you, Oscar Sundqvist, a little bit banged up. He's going to miss at least the first 3 weeks of, or three games of the season, I should say. Sounds like Nick Bjugstad will come off the wing on the third line, go center of the fourth line. That will allow somebody like Matthew Joseph to just step in to a third line spot. When we're looking at the fourth line center, we're getting a little bit choosy, but obviously you'd rather not have an injury situation early on in the year.
Right. And there's no need for it because of the way that fourth line is going to function. We kind of knew that Sundqvist might be bouncing in and out, might have to take some of the workload off of him to protect his body. He is a little banged up, not necessarily the quickest guy on the ice, but he brings that experience and that skill level. So yes, you want him to get better. 3 weeks at the beginning of the season, not a huge deal, but not to trivialize the beginning of the season. The Blues, Chris Kerber has said this over and over again. Jim Montgomery has said it. The Blues have to get off to a strong start. They have 11 games in October, 7 of those at home, where I think they're still in an unbeaten streak, Matt. I don't think they've lost in, 9-10 games. So they have to get a strong start.
She is Amy Marks, scores Hockey Amy, as we call her here on Sports Open Line, now the co-host of Offside Hockey with Chris Kerber on Matrix Midwest. Of course, you hear her on KMOX with Chris and Amy show. She'll be part of Gas House Gang. We'll get her here on Sports Open Line a lot. Amy, thanks for the time. You're going to get very busy now that hockey season's underway.
I'm looking forward to it, Matt. It's a good busy.
All right, very good. That's Amy Marks, of course, joining us, and we appreciate her taking a few moments with us. We will take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk playoff baseball with former Brewers pitcher Jerry Augustine. That Brewers-Cubs series, it's interesting. Brewers took the first 2 games. We'll talk about that, and we'll also talk some other baseball playoffs. As finally, the first game of the day is underway. They have been dealing with bad weather in Detroit, so the Tigers and the Mariners are finally underway. We'll talk with Jerry Augustine in just a moment as you're listening to a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very
calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees. Ooma. Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
I hear from sellers all the time that they fear they have missed out on the selling market. They are so relieved to learn September, October, and November are strong selling months. With low inventory and hopefully lower interest rates, this fall will be a hot one for real estate. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. You may have heard me say, why pay more than for years? Now it's why pay more than 2, saving you even more money. Call me 314-441-4444. And remember, why pay more than 2?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Nevada.
Hey, Illinois, this is Ben Barnett, board-certified master arborist and owner at Timberline Professional Tree Care. Sorry, St. Louis, this message is for our friends in the Metro East. Did you know that most Missouri-based tree contractors can't legally travel into Illinois? This is due to federal motor carrier regulations that require large trucks and their drivers to be registered with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration in order to travel across state lines. Almost all other tree services in Missouri fail to meet the requirements for safety, drug and alcohol testing, and equipment maintenance that are required for interstate travel. Here at Timberline, we meet and exceed all of these requirements and will be glad to travel across the river to meet all of your tree care needs. Call us today at 636-479-7475 for tree fertilization, pruning, insect and disease treatment, or complete removal. Or visit our website at stltreecare.com. That's stltreecare.com for service in the Metro East area.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-894-7722. That's 800-894-7722. Again, 800-894-7722.
Hey, it's Matt Pauley for i3 Broadband, the internet provider in the Pauley household. I think you'd love it if you had them as well. We've got the 2 gig package at our home, 2 gig upload, 2 gig download mirrored, and we're spending less money than we did with the cable company for lesser service. Plus, right now, they've got savings over $400 beyond their already low standard pricing. You got questions? They've got answers. Call 877-976-0711, and they've got people there who can answer all your questions, or head to their website, i3broadband.com.
Now, back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Back at it as we do continue on through the evening, taking you until 8 o'clock tonight. We'll hear a little bit more from Chaim Bloom coming up next hour, the new Cardinals president of baseball operations. He was on with the Gas House Gang earlier today. We'll play back much of what he said. Also, Rob Raines wrote a really interesting piece going back through really Chaim's entire baseball history. And we'll talk with Rob coming up next hour about everybody that he talked to in that profile of Chaim Bloom. But right now, we are very happy to welcome onto the program. He is a very good friend of mine, somebody I worked with for years and years and who I certainly miss. He is former Brewers pitcher Jerry Augustine, continuing to do post-game work after Brewers games on the radio, and they've got a lot to talk about. This Cubs-Brewers series, I think for Cardinals fans, very interesting with a couple NL Central teams matched up against each other, and Jerry Augustine joins us right now. Augie, always great to talk to you. How are you?
I'm so excited. It's been such a long time that we've been able to go on together, but the times we spent were very precious. We had a great relationship, and it was so enjoyable just to be with you, talking baseball. And anytime you can talk baseball, you know you're doing a good thing.
I agree with that. But to be perfectly honest with you, I thought this series was going to be tighter. I thought it was one that was likely to be 1-1 after the first 2 games going back to Chicago. But the Brewers just keep doing what they've done all year, and that's not worry about what the outside expectations are and score a bunch of runs and win a bunch of games. And it's been pretty impressive here in the first 2 games for Milwaukee.
Well, I think the one thing you look at the Brewers, the Brewers are playing the Brewers brand of baseball, and you talk about this ball club the way they've been from the beginning of the year, but it all starts with their pitching. They have a great pitching staff, and you look at what they do with starters and with relievers. They've been very consistent. I think they have one of the best defenses in all of baseball, and they've shown that day in and day out. But I think where they really made some strides is in the offensive side, Matt. When you saw this ball club early in the season, they're more of a team that go out and they manufacture runs. They wouldn't hit a lot of home runs, but they put the ball in play. They had the opportunity. They lead the majors with infield hits. They lead the majors with scoring 4 runs or more so many times during the season. But the second half of the season really made a little turn for the Brewers. They became a team that could not only manufacture runs, but hit home runs. And we saw that's been quite evident in the first 2 games of this series, where they said opening night, they went out and they manufactured runs, where they're swinging the bat very well, putting the ball in play and running the bases very well. Last night, it was all about home runs. All the runs scored were all about home runs. So the Brewers have given the Cubs a little taste of a little bit of everything, a little bit of being able to manufacture, being able to hit home runs, and then the pitching and defense has been outstanding.
Yeah, I think I gave the Cubs maybe more credit than I should have, largely because of the power. You just talked about home runs, and on paper, the Cubs, I mean, it seems like every guy in their lineup is a 30-plus home run guy. But to your point, they've hit some home runs for sure. They've taken some leads in the first 2 games thanks to the long ball, but that has not resulted in them winning games. It seems like the Brewers have found a way to kind of neutralize the Cubs' power.
Yeah, the one thing that's really big in the game of baseball, and you've been around baseball so long, the one cardinal rule of baseball is that when you score, you don't let the opponent score. And I think that's really been a credit to this ball club the second half of the season, especially not so much in September. They had kind of a little bit of a lull, but the rest, when you take from All-Star break up until September, boy, the other team scored, they'd always apply pressure. And I think that's one thing that this team is very good at. They have the ability, whether there's 1 out or 2 outs or no outs, to apply pressure. They get guys on base. They run the bases very well. They don't strike out a lot, and they put the ball in play. And that's a real credit to the organization. And this Brewer team is a really nice blend of veteran players and young players. And you got the leaders on this ball club with the Christian Yelich and Contreras, those type of guys. They really are great leaders. And I tell you what, the young kids have really stepped up and made a big difference, though.
Augie, I was talking about this earlier because from a Cardinals perspective, they look up to the Brewers. There's a lot of things that the Brewers do organizationally that the Cardinals need to do, or at least need to do better. And it's impressive when you look at the last 10 years of the Brewers, because they go from David Stearns to Matt Arnold as the president of baseball operations, nothing changes. They go from Craig Counsell to Pat Murphy as the manager, nothing changes. They go from Derek Johnson to Chris Hook, a pitching coach, nothing changes. They've had tons of changes on the coaching staff. They've had multiple hitting coaches in that time. What is it that, whether it's the Cardinals or any other organization, what's the thing that they can look at the Brewers and try to start imitating, replicating, looking in that direction that allows Milwaukee to continue to have the success that they've had without spending tons and tons of money?
Well, I think it started out back when you were with us in Milwaukee, is their brand changed. And what happened, and that started way back with Doug Melvin. When Doug Melvin, before he left, he made some really great trades. We all know this. CC Sabathia in 2008 was an outstanding trade and really made the difference for the Brewers. And but when you go on from him, David Stearns came in and they started getting that idea with Craig Counsell saying, hey, you know what? You have to go out and you have to be a good teammate. You have to go out and you have to set your limits as high as you want. We're not going to tell you what your limits are. You just have to go show it. Be a good teammate. And I think that kind of blossomed into where all of a sudden this organization, instead of going out and just looking at the offense and the defensive side of the ball, started really to build themselves in the pitching area. And that started with, you had Corbin Burns and Woody and all these guys that have come in and have really made a big difference in this organization. So I think the scouting has done an outstanding job. They've really blossomed. And when you look at this organization from a pitching side, they're very pitching rich up and down the organization. That's where it started, being in a spot where you have to be strong, and that's in the pitching. They've done that, and I'll tell you what, the fielding, the hitting, and everything else has just followed suit. And this organization from bottom up still goes with the same plan. There's no I in team. There's a lot of me's. You can't have a team unless you have an ME in there. And I tell you, that's really paid off for the organization.
It's from a national perspective, the Craig Counsell storyline gets played so much. How does that impact anything? I know fans obviously continue to be very unhappy with him in Milwaukee that he left, but is this something that maybe the national folks pick up on a lot because it's a playoff matchup, but it's something that in reality has sort of passed in some ways because he's been there for a couple years?
Well, I think you got to look at the organization, what it was, and when Craig come aboard, and he tried to bring that culture that you had to go out and be a good teammate, and you had to go out and help your team, and you got to do whatever you can for the team. And I think that culture, he started that culture, and having Murph as a coach when he was in college, and now with him here in Milwaukee, I think it just transcended over to the way Murph is. And Murph has a different style a little bit. He's more of a college style coaching method with the players. The players understand where he comes from. But I think you build a good team by surrounding yourself with good people. And if you look at this Brewer organization and you look at this Brewer team on the major level, all the coaches do a really good job. Murph is just the guy who leads them. He's the one who makes the decision. He's the one that says, I want this and I want that. It's up to those coaches to go out in. They have so many good coaches, Chris Hudson, Jim Anderson in the pitching. They got Erickson on the fielding. These guys work relentlessly with these players to make them better. And you're talking about kids in this ball club and this organization. You take a Caleb Durbin and Ortiz, and you look at all the guys that they have on their ball club that have gone out and done such a great job. And it's really made a difference. And their scouting has done really well because they take up a guy like Andrew Vaughn. But when you look at Collins and Perkins and all these guys, these young players have gotten better because they have a great leadership with the coaches, and they got really great players with a leader as a Christian Yelich, who goes out and plays a lot like a Robin and a Paul Molitor, and these guys go out and they show it each and every day.
Cardinals fans looking up to the Brewers and to the Cubs. They would love to be in that spot. Augie, hopefully we can get Cardinals and Brewers playing games that matter a little bit more here sooner than later, because I'm jealous that you get to be covering playoff baseball right now.
It's always fun, anytime the Brewers and the Cardinals play, it's a lot of fun to watch. The Cardinals have always been there. It seems like they're in a little bit of a lull right now, but that happens. You have ways that it goes about, but now they have a little bit different in leadership, but they're not that far off. It doesn't take much. It just takes the ability to go out and play good, solid baseball, and that good brand of baseball. Got to be solid pitching, playing defense and offense. And if they can do that, good things can happen.
Augie, I'm so glad we got to catch up and talk a little bit. I miss you, and hopefully our paths cross again real soon. But thank you so much for taking the time tonight.
Oh, Matt, you're one of the best I've ever worked with. Take care.
Awesome. Very good. That's Jerry Augustine, former pitcher for the Brewers, now doing post-game radio. He was my co-host when I was out there doing stuff, and he is one of the best people walking the face of the earth. And I'm glad I got the chance to talk to him for just a few moments here. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1 of the program. And hour number 2, we're going to talk with Rob Raines. He had a great profile on Chaim Bloom. And using the word profile probably doesn't completely explain what it is. It is a long, really feature on Chaim Bloom's path to where he is right now. And speaking of Bloom, he was on Gas House Gang earlier today. We're going to replay some of that coming up in just a while as well. Don't go anywhere. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Roger, tell us about your experience working with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
We just had a very fine experience with the work that 3-Day Kitchen and Bath had done on our home. They had taken out walls and put in a new kitchen and a new bath, and did it in an extremely timely manner with some of the finest workers that we've been associated with. Easy to work with. They did what we asked them to do. And each of the subs that they had, whether it was putting in the bath, the shower stalls, and they came in a timely manner. The plumber was here on time. The electricians were here when they said they would be here, and things just worked out really well for us. And I've done it myself, and it'll probably take me 2 years.
It's about time.
3 days or less
at 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Red Kingdom is back at FanDuel Sports Network Live in Ballpark Village. See every game on the largest screen in town. Don't forget about the $25 buckets, $5 cocktails, and the best tailgate food around. Grab your friends along with KMOX and huddle up for the games at the best watch party in town. If you can't make it, but don't want to miss it down, listen to the Chiefs on KMOX or KMOX on the Odyssey app. For more info, KMOX.com/events.
I'm Ultima Morgan. Every year, almost 30,000 babies in America are born with birth injuries. It's every parent's worst nightmare. If your child suffered a birth injury, please call our firm to find out if we can help.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-384-9393. That's 800-384-9393.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
It's the most inspiring night in sports. The Musial Awards at Stiefel Theater. You can be in the audience for this nationally televised event from St. Louis. Named for Stan the Man, the Musial Awards celebrate those who uplift us through their extraordinary sportsmanship. Experience the remarkable moments and people that make this an event like no other. The Musial Awards, presented by Maryville University. Saturday, November 22nd. Tickets at musialawards.com.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Missouri can count on.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Continuing on for just a few more minutes here in this hour after the 7 o'clock news. We'll get underway with hour number 2. Again, Rob Raines is going to join us just after the 7 o'clock news over at stlsportspage.com. He wrote a very long-form profile feature on new Cardinals president of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom, that I thought was really fantastic. He talked to a lot of people from Chaim's past. So we'll have Rob to talk about that coming up in just a while. And then again, Bloom was on a Gas House Gang earlier today. We're going to play back some of that for you, some of the things that he specifically said. He did by one of the staples of KMOX, and specifically the Sports on a Sunday Morning program hosted by Tom Ackerman, is that the Cardinals president of baseball operations is a part of that. And John Mozeliak was very, very, very gracious with his time over the years. A lot of news was broken when Mo would come on Sunday mornings. And listening to Chaim talk earlier today on his way out of that conversation, he said that he has already put the Sunday morning conversation into his calendar, and that is going to be something that he is going to continue to do. So for those of you who expect to hear from the Cardinals president of baseball operations on Sunday mornings, you are going to continue to hear from him. Chaim Bloom is going to continue that tradition with Tom Ackerman on Sports on a Sunday Morning. So that is really good news. And I think Mo was incredible. I said earlier, gracious with his time. I think that of everything we can say positively or negatively about Mo, one of the things that I really always appreciated from him, and I think he did this very much on purpose, I've heard him talk about this at times, was he tried to be available to the media. He saw value in us being the opportunity for either him to talk to fans on what was going on, or just being there for us because we wanted to talk to him. And I thought he was pretty good with that. Here at KMOX, it was great. And I get the sense that it's going to be more of the same with Chaim Bloom. He's going to be somebody that you're going to hear from. And I think the Cardinals realize this, but it just because they realize it or doesn't realize it doesn't make it more or less true. There is an expectation. Expectation is the wrong word. There is a need. Wrote that. There is a need for Cardinals fans to hear from the various people that are running this organization. And we've had Rob Cerfolio on this show. Now Chaim Bloom's around. There's other people in the organization as well. It is vitally important that the fans understand what's going on, why decisions are being made, why decisions are going to be made, things like that. And I do think that I think there's an understanding from the organization that is something that's important and something that they are going to attempt to do here moving forward. So I would suspect a lot of people from the organization will be heard fairly often here on KMOX and other places as well. But it was good to listen to Chaim. And again, if you missed any of it, we're going to replay much of what he had to say. About 7:30 or so, we're going to get into that coming up next hour. So don't go anywhere. That's it for hour number 1 of the show. We've got our 7 o'clock news with Michael Calhoun in just a few moments, and then I'll be back with you as Rob Raines is going to be with us to talk through his profile on Chaim Bloom that just published, I believe published yesterday. We'll talk with Rob Raines coming up in a few minutes right here on KMOX.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State. New Missouri customers can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. And when we go live, place just a $5 bet to unlock $300 in bonus bets. Starting November 17th, you can create your DraftKings Sportsbook account in Missouri and get ready for launch day on December 1st. DraftKings Sportsbook brings you everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live December 1st. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
You've got a ton of equity in your home. You're sitting on a gold mine, and you could do so much with all that cash, like travel, invest it, or pay off debt, but you can't touch it unless you sell your home. But you really don't want to move. And besides, homes are sitting on the market for a long time these days. You're trapped, right? Well, not with TrueHold. With TrueHold, you can cash out your equity in as little as 30 days. And listen, you don't have to move. You can stay in the home you love as a renter. So that's TrueHold's Sell and Stay program. You cash out your entire home's value and stay put. TrueHold even covers property taxes, property insurance, and essential repairs. So imagine using that equity to travel, invest, or pay off debt and stay in your home. It's brilliant, especially in this slow market. You get an all-cash offer now by calling 1-855-300-9993. You can also visit TrueHold.com, the smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without moving. That's TrueHold.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9834. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-9834. That's 800-575-9834. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
News, talk, cards. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Some government workers must continue working either with or without pay, or with limited pay until the government reopens. That includes air traffic controllers, and CBS's Chris Van Cleve says even if just one or two call out in a tower, it's a problem.
Our CBS News data team did an analysis. They found that the FAA has flagged staffing shortages at an increasing number of air traffic control facilities in the days since the government shut down, at a rate that we haven't seen since 2022.
The Memphis Control Tower is helping Nashville as that airport tower is dark until at least midnight. There are now questions over back pay for furloughed government workers after a Trump administration official confirms to CBS News a draft memo from the White House's Office of Management and Budget suggesting that the back pay is not guaranteed. Republican Senator Tom Tillis responds,
I believe it's a strategic mistake to now let those folks know or let them think that they could potentially not get back pay.
Meantime, the Senate will hold its next votes tomorrow on dueling measures to fund the government. Pam Bondi, the nation's top prosecutor, deflects some questions and defends herself during a congressional committee hearing. CBS's Allison Keyes reports.
Attorney General Pam Bondi refused to answer questions about the controversial indictment of former FBI Director James Comey.
It's a pending case, so I'm not going to discuss the facts of a pending case.
Democrats, including Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, questioned the administration's focus on blue-led cities.
I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump.
Bondi insisted the DOJ is just doing its job.
Our civil rights attorneys are fighting discrimination and anti-Semitism.
Allison Keyes, CBS News, Washington.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem travels to Portland to visit an ICE facility while a federal lawsuit over National Guard deployment continues to unfold. Protester Nefreda Shade in Portland.
It's dangerous because, like I said, you're taking away the few avenues we have to peacefully fight back. And he wants us to get violent because he wants to enact martial law.
Meantime, Texas National Guard members have arrived in Illinois and are expected to soon deploy to Chicago. President Trump is optimistic about progress toward a Gaza ceasefire deal and says a U.S. team has left to take part in the negotiations.
We are very close to making a deal on the Middle East that will bring peace to the Middle East. After all of these years of millions and millions, tens of millions of people being killed, there's a chance to bring peace to the Middle East.
Hamas says it wants to reach a deal, but still has some demands. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
At 7:03, it's a cloudy sky, and right now 66 degrees downtown at the Arch. Flights delayed at Lambert Airport continuing. It's believed to be related to the air traffic controllers and TSA workers calling off during the government shutdown, but Lambert is not confirming that. The information comes from FAA and TSA. KMOX has reached out. We're waiting to hear back. Airports around the country have reported significant delays or even cancellations throughout the day. As of now, no flights have been canceled, but there are plenty of delays. Check flystl.com before headed out. U.S. News and World Report is out with its annual list of America's best children's hospitals. KMOX health editor Fred Bottomer tells us how we did locally.
For the 17th straight year, St. Louis Children's Hospital was ranked the top children's hospital in the St. Louis area. It also came in at number 1 in Missouri and number 3 in the Midwest. St. Louis Children's also was nationally ranked in 11 pediatric specialties. SSML Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital came in at number 2 in the St. Louis area, number 3 in Missouri, and 15th in the Midwest, with national rankings in 4 children's specialties. Shriners Children's Hospital here was recognized by U.S. News in one specialty, pediatric orthopedics. Fred Bottomer, KMOX News.
The new Missouri Attorney General is looking to speed up the Sheriff Alfred Montgomery's potential removal.
Ahead of next month's bench trial in the Quo Warranto to remove the sheriff, Attorney General Catherine Hanaway has filed a motion for a partial summary judgment on 3 of the counts. The counts are that Sheriff Montgomery improperly detained Deputy Jail Commissioner Tammy Ross, saying he quote-unquote kidnapped her, and had an employee transport his kids to and from school numerous times. Both incidents were caught on camera. The sheriff's refusal to transport detainees is also one of the counts. A hearing on the motion is yet to be scheduled. If the judge rules in the Attorney General's favor on any of the 3 counts, Sheriff Montgomery would be removed from office, potentially without a trial. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
The St. Louis Battlehawks have some new company in the United Football League. 3 teams getting replaced.
The Memphis Showboats, the Michigan Panthers, and the San Antonio Brahmas are out after 2 seasons. In come the Columbus Aviators, the Louisville Kings, and the Orlando Storm. They will join the Birmingham Stallions, the DC Defenders, and the St. Louis Battlehawks. The Houston franchise is changing its name from the Houston Roughnecks to the Houston Gamblers, and the Arlington Renegades will now be called the Dallas Renegades to reflect the team's North Texas fan base. Tom Ackerman, KMOX Sports.
Clear sky overnight, low 53 for tomorrow. Sunshine, high 75, 73 for Thursday with sunshine. We'll dip into the 40s Wednesday and Thursday nights. Right now we've got cloudy sky, 66 downtown at the Gateway Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
We are back at it right here on KMOX as we get into hour number 2 of the show. As always, if you want to chime in on anything that we're talking about, you can do so by calling or texting 314-436-7900. You can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air. And for those of you who are watching on the video stream, you can just leave a comment in the chat and we will get to that. I would highly encourage you to head to stlsportspage.com. Rob Raines did an amazing job writing a very long profile feature on new Cardinals president of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom, where it really goes back to the early part of his life, very much so from the early part of his baseball career when he was just trying to get into baseball as a college student. And to talk through much of what he wrote, we're happy to welcome onto the program right now, Rob Raines. Rob, thank you for taking some time with us. How are you?
My pleasure, Matt. Thank you.
I know you were on Dave Glover's show today, and I was talking with them. I didn't want to ask them, hey, are you going to ask Rob about the profile he did on Chaim? Because I didn't want them to steal the questions that I was going to ask. And I got confirmation that they really didn't touch much on this. So this is going to be new stuff between you and me.
Yes, sir. Anything you want to know, let me know.
Awesome. Very good. So you talked to a lot of people from Chaim's past, both going back to when he was in Tampa, when he was in Boston, and you kind of wrote this profile almost through their eyes of what they saw from him. What struck you as you were talking to people who have known Chaim Bloom for many years?
Basically, nobody had anything bad to say about him. I think they all really respected him as a person. They really respected him as a baseball executive, really respected what he believes, what makes him tick, and just the fact that he was always such a willing student and willing to learn and adapt, and just, very smart individual.
One of the really tough things to do in baseball is to be in the game and to also be able to prioritize your family. And it seems like he knows the grind. He knows what it takes to be in baseball on an everyday basis. But at the same time, people always talk about him being a family man. I found that to be interesting because that's a very challenging thing to do in this game.
Yeah, and actually, I think that was one of the things he probably learned from Don Zimmer. I mean, you talked a little bit about the influence of some of the people, early on in his career in Tampa Bay, especially, and one of those was Don Zimmer. And that was one thing that stood out to him, was what the balancing act between baseball and his family. And I think that was before, Chaim even had a family or was even married at the time, really. So I think that was something that just made an impression on him, and that he knew that when it got to be that point in his life, that was going to be his priority, because he said, in baseball, you realize that it's a job and that people come and go, but that the family should be your constant. And that's what he, how he wants to live his life.
You mentioned Don Zimmer, and it's interesting because Heim is very sharp. He's an Ivy League educated individual. He went to Yale. Obviously, he's going to be very good when it comes to analytics in a modern way of looking at baseball, which is probably something that the Cardinals need to update themselves on a little bit. But at the same time, you talk about his relationship with Don Zimmer. We know that pro scouting is something that he very much believes in, and he wants to get more scouts into the organization. It's a very interesting thing because as modern as he is, it feels like he's able to grab onto some old school aspects of the game all at the same time.
Well, think back to his news conference last week when he made his first official comments after, officially taking over the job. Two of the people he referenced were Branch Rickey and George Kissel. So he is enough of a baseball historian, enough of a fan of the game that I think he understands and appreciates the history of the game. And but he also talked about, how you have to leverage that history that by doing new things and by being different. He said all these people, who we're talking about because they did something, in history, it was because they forged their own path and they were innovative and they were different. And that's, we have to learn from everything that they did, but also, forge your own path and just kind of make your own way and be different. Don't be afraid to try something different and think outside the box. That was one thing. Mitch Lukovic, who was the other guy I talked to from Tampa Bay, who he was his, assistant. Heim was his assistant as the player development director in Tampa on a very small staff. And Mitch, is a baseball lifer as well, although he never played in the big leagues. He's worked, in baseball forever, played minor league baseball. And he said, here I was, however many years I had in the game at that point, and I'm learning things from Heim. So, I think that's the beauty of the I think Heim is able to relate to a lot of different people, a lot of different areas. I mean, one of the things I asked people was, the fact that he did not come from a traditional baseball background, how did that impact, what he did? And they all said it didn't have any impact at all because he just got in there and people could tell he was smart. They could tell he knew what he was talking about, built that relationship, and it didn't matter that he didn't play baseball or didn't study it, at a, SEC school or something. So, I think that was important as well. He also, of course, obviously got into baseball at the right time when people from non-traditional baseball playing backgrounds were being looked at by front offices for different jobs, whether it was just in the analytics department or even, some other kind of administrative roles. So his timing was good on when he kind of came into the business.
You spoke with Dan Shaughnessy, legendary sports columnist at the Boston Globe. He had an interesting relationship with Heim because he covered him as a sports columnist, but also his grandkids played on a little league baseball team where Heim's kids were on. Heim actually did some coaching of that little league team after he was let go in Boston. And I thought it was interesting because that's a very tough market and people go after you pretty good in Boston. And even with the lack of success that they had with him there, and obviously the Mookie Betts trade, it feels like the people in that market kind of understood that this was more about Red Sox ownership and not an indictment on Bloom himself.
Yeah, at least that's what Dan said. He said, I never blamed Heim for trading Mookie Betts. Anybody who did, I think they're mistaken. He goes, it was all about the owners. He said, I really didn't ever kind of criticize him too much in print because I was going after the owners. And I think that's what most people were targeting at that point, with the Red Sox. He said, and then when they get to the Little League field, obviously it was kind of awkward. The coach of the team I talked to as well lives across the street from Shaughnessy's daughter. So that's kind of what was, and he said it could have been, really awkward, to have those guys there with the background they have. But he said, I got the feeling that they really were not enemies, that Dan was, somebody who he said, I liked Heim. Heim was a guy that you rooted for. He was fair. He always took my calls. He was always available. He said, and I wasn't, the last thing you want to do is see a call from me coming if he had the job that he had. So, but I thought he was very, honest in his opinions about the fact that, I was just really in kind of a tough situation because you got to remember everything that was going on with the Red Sox at that time, not just the Mookie Betts thing, but, the whole thing about they lost, Cora for a year as their manager. They had COVID to deal with, all kinds of stuff that they had to deal with at the time, lost a draft pick. So, and then actually did have a year when they got to the ALCS. So, it wasn't like everything in Boston was terrible. And I also think you're seeing now that, a lot of the things that he did in Boston was, maybe didn't, people didn't realize or appreciate at the time, was some of the young players that they brought into the organization that you're seeing now get to the big leagues with the Red Sox. So, I think that that's something you have to take, sit back and take a look at. I mean, he was only there for 4 years. It wasn't like he was there for 20 years or something, So he said, Dan basically said people didn't know a lot about him when he came here and didn't know a lot about him when he left. So
when it'd be really easy for him to talk about Heim. It'd be really easy for him to take shots at the situation in Boston. Ownership obviously meddled. There were people in that front office that predated him that, from what I understand, were very resistant to change. But anytime Heim talks about his Boston situation, says how much he appreciated his time there, loved living there, yada, 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 it really seems like a guy who could, even if it wasn't a direct attack, but just saying some things that you kind of read between the lines on, that doesn't seem to be Heim's style at all.
No, I would say that too. I mean, he's one of those guys that I don't think he's going to say anything instead of saying something negative about somebody. So, and I think that's just the way he was raised. That's just his personality. That's just, for everybody I talk to, that's just kind of who he is as a person. That's not his agenda. That's not something he wants to do. He'd rather take the high road and said, I've been privileged to work in arguably the two greatest baseball towns in America, and it's something I don't take lightly.
One of my favorite quotes, I'll read the quote from the story. And again, people can read the whole thing, and they should read the whole thing at stlsportspage.com. But Heim says, quote, "You have an environment and an atmosphere that's really hard to duplicate." He's talking about St. Louis and Busch Stadium. "I've yet to experience what that feels like in St. Louis, but I'm sure it's going to be pretty great. It's something that motivates me." Rob, he has spent the last 2 years watching baseball games in St. Louis that are not attended the way we are used to seeing Cardinals games being attended. And he talks openly about being motivated by filling that ballpark up once again and it just being a special place where the games really matter.
Yeah, and I think that is his goal. I mean, I do think he wants it to not just short term, but long term. He wants it to be a situation where you're drawing 3.5 million fans every year. You're in a playoff contention every year. Get your share of the pennants. Get your share of the World Series. Have a chance to win it. I think that is his goal for sustained success. And I think he doesn't think there's any reason why this club can't do that. And that's what his goal is, to make that happen.
Rob Raines celebrating 45 years of covering baseball. You can read them at stlsportspage.com. This is a long one. You might want to take a few minutes and sit down, whether you're on the computer or whether you're reading it on your phone. It's not a 2-minute read for sure, but it is worth a little bit of time to sit down. Rob, I really enjoyed reading this. Thank you so much for taking some time with us today.
Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Very good. That's Rob Raines joining us on the program. We appreciate him spending a few moments with us. Again, stlsportspage.com. Whenever I have people who write stuff like this, I always want to kind of whet the appetite for people to go read it themselves. I don't want to take everything away from it, but I thought it gave an interesting insight to Bloom and his path. I didn't even get into it with Rob. But the fact that he started with an unpaid internship and working with the San Diego Padres, and something that you'll hear this from him. Again, we're going to run some of what Heim had to say earlier today on Gas House Gang. We're going to do that around 7:30 or so less than 15 minutes away from that. But Bernie Miklasz asked him today about what can you learn from a team like the Milwaukee Brewers, because right now it was the Tampa Bay Rays previously. We always go through these periods where we look at the teams that are doing the most with the least. So at one point we always look to Oakland, and then we always look to Tampa. And I think right now we're looking to Milwaukee, right? So that's the team that right now is outplaying what they spend on baseball. And it's because they make really smart decisions. It's because they have really smart people in the organization. I had forgotten at the time, but Heim brought this up today when he was asked, Bernie Miklasz asked him very specifically, what can the Cardinals learn from the Brewers? And Heim's answer is great. Again, you'll hear it, but essentially he said, you don't want to replicate any other team. You don't even want to replicate what you did at a previous stop, because it's a new place. If you try to replicate what somebody else is doing, he made the analogy that it's like wearing somebody else's clothes. Those clothes are going to look better on the person. They're just not going to quite fit right. So you gotta blaze your own path. And Heim was part of a path that was being blazed in Tampa. He was part of a path in Boston, and now he's part of a path here in St. Louis. But going back to the Brewers connection, Matt Arnold, who is currently the president of baseball operations in Milwaukee, he took over for David Stearns when Stearns left to take over the Mets. I guess Stearns was on as an advisor for 1 year while Arnold was in charge, but Stearns now with the Mets. Anyways, Arnold and Heim worked together in the Tampa Bay front office previously. So when it comes to like the baseball tree of influence, there are many of the same influences towards a Matt Arnold, and what's going on in Milwaukee are some of the same influences towards a Heim Bloom. So when we talk about Milwaukee and what they do so well, and we try to say, well, what can be applied from that in St. Louis, I think it's more than just lip service. It's the fact that the president of baseball operations for the Brewers and now the president of baseball operations for the Cardinals each worked in Tampa previously, and that is absolutely going to be part of what this organization is going to do moving forward. For me, the big difference is, and this is why I always talk about Atlanta, it's doing those things, but then keeping your players. And Tampa has not kept their players. The Brewers sometimes do, sometimes don't. They pick and choose their spots. They're able to extend a Christian Yelich for an extended amount of time, but they have to move on from a Devin Williams. And so the Brewers do it more than the Rays, but not to the extent that the Braves are able to do with keeping their own players, and hopefully what the Cardinals are able to do, because the Cardinals are always going to be able to expend more on payroll than what they do in Milwaukee, and obviously what they do in a place like Tampa. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to shift off baseball for just a quick moment. I want to talk through a little bit. You've heard it on the news. Tom Ackerman doing reports in Michael Calhoun's news about what's going on with the UFL, the league that the Battlehawks play in. It's going to look different moving forward, and the strategy of the league is changing a little bit as well. We'll talk about that, and then once we're done with that, we'll get back into baseball and listen into much of what Heim Bloom had to say earlier today here on the station. We'll take a break. We got more in just a moment. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends at Underdog Fantasy Sports app. I have been with and using Underdog now for several months. I was a bit sheepish about it because, as you guys know, if you listen to the show, I'm like the least techie guy you're going to meet. I don't understand apps very well. It is the easiest, most intuitive app I've ever seen. It is very simple. Whether it's MLS, NHL, MLB, NFL, you just find your favorite players and you just decide higher or lower on stats like goals scored or interceptions and things like that. You can win up to 5,000 times the amount you put down. You only have to put down $1. It is a ton of fun and really enhances my enjoyment of the game. Download the app today. Sign up with promo code Glover to score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. Must be 18 and present in Missouri. If you're concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_HTML.
House stealing. It's a nightmare that's real. It's the FBI's term for thieves stealing your home's title and draining your equity. Just one fake document filed with a recorder, and scammers can own your home on paper, drain your equity, and do it all without you even knowing. Imagine waking up to a foreclosure or eviction notice. Listen to former title thief Matt Cox.
What people don't realize is the ease in which this crime can happen. I can take the deed to your house and I can transfer that deed into my name. It's a great crime, and it's happening all the time.
So how can you stop the nightmare and protect yourself? Find out if you're already a victim now at HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code RADIO and get a 30-day free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection, a title scan, and access to a title specialist, a $250 value. Don't wait. Go to HomeTitleLock.com now, promo code RADIO.
If you or anyone you care about is facing a family legal matter, call Cordell & Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
If you or anyone you care about is facing divorce, contact Cordell and Cordell today. With over 100,000 clients served, we understand the challenges you're facing on a personal level. Call Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. That's 1-855-GET-LEGAL. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
Saving money on your exterior painting project at Menards. Pristine is Dutch Boy's most durable exterior paint and primer in one. With its Rain Rinse technology, Rain naturally washes away dirt and grime. Plus, it resists cracking and peeling, making it perfect to withstand the harshest weather conditions. Save big money on pristine exterior paint now at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on menards.com for more great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
Working full-time but still falling behind? Learn how real estate education can help you build income and get ahead on your terms. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold-filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
Now, back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Quick segment here. Want to give us as much time as possible to kind of go back through much of what Chaim Bloom had to say today during the Gas House Gang. So that's going to be coming up in our next segment. Did want to acknowledge real quickly the announcement today that was made by the United Football League about what's going to happen moving forward. They are changing some cities and they are changing some venues in the league. Now, one thing that is not changing, the St. Louis Battlehawks and where the St. Louis Battlehawks are playing at the Dome at America Center. Battlehawks continue to really be the bell cow of this league and continue to lead in from an attendance standpoint. But if you've ever watched, say, Battlehawks road games, you've seen a lot of empty seats. So the league made the announcement today that they're going to be moving some of their teams into soccer venues, which tend to be a little bit smaller. It would almost be like moving the Battlehawks over to where City plays at Enterprise Park. They wouldn't have enough room for all the fans that tend to go to Battlehawks games. And then there are also some new teams that are being brought in as they are going to work in 3 new markets in Columbus, Ohio, also Louisville, Kentucky, and Orlando going to be brought in. Those are going to replace 3 markets that, at least for now, are going away. So they're just trying to get everything right. And I appreciate it'd be really easy to just kind of shut this whole thing down, but they are continuing to work on an every year basis to try to make spring football work. And a lot of people before them have tried to make spring football work. It works here in St. Louis. So far, it's not working across the board, across the entire league. But by going into smaller venues, that's probably a smart decision for them. And then hopefully they can build those respective fan bases in those cities, and you don't have the bad look of empty seats. When we come back, we hear from Chaim Bloom from the Gas House Gang earlier today here on KMOX.
Think back to the holiday season last year. You're surrounded by your family. It's been months since everyone has been together like this. Everyone is talking and catching up, sharing stories and laughing, and your grandson is real quick-witted. He cracks a joke and everyone seems to laugh. But you missed it. How does that make you feel? Do you start to disengage? Do you feel disconnected from the group? I'm Dr. Colleen Bosler, and I don't want this to happen to you this holiday season. Come visit Dr. Adam Voss and me at the Audiology Center for our Here for the Holidays event happening in the month of October. We're offering free hearing screenings, free earwax removals, free consultations, and a $500 coupon towards the latest hearing aids. Call us today to make an appointment for this special event through the month of October. 636-441-7470 or visit us online at theaudiologycenterstl.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Have you been notified that your subsidy for Obamacare health insurance is going away? Well, you can leave now while you're still healthy and qualify for much better individual plans. Greg Hammonds at greghammonds.com has been helping people get affordable health insurance with great coverage for over 35 years. Greg offers private health insurance plans that are not on the ACA marketplace. You can pick your doctors. For most claims, you won't even pay a deductible, and they're 30 to 60% lower cost than Obamacare. One more thing, there's no tax penalty at the end of the year. Greg even has plans that are guaranteed acceptance. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan by you, not the government.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal? Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Now, back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
It's Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley, continuing to take you. We'll be here till 8 o'clock this evening. Also have a full 2-hour show coming up tomorrow night. Thursday Night Football will shorten us on, obviously, Thursday night. And then we'll have a 2-hour show coming up on Friday. If you missed it earlier today, Cardinals president of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom, appeared on the Gas House Gang. He did the Tuesday spot that Oliver Marmol did all season long. And we got to hear some different things from Chaim than what he said on his press conference and the long interview that he had with John Rooney, the conversation he had with me on the day of the press conference. So wanted to go back and play back for you some of what he did say today. If you want to hear the whole interview from start to finish, you can do so. The video version of it available, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the audio version of available where you get your podcast if you find the Gas House Gang podcast. One of the first things that Chaim did announce when he officially began his tenure as president of baseball operations was that manager Oliver Marmol would be back next season. He's had a front row seat to watching this team. He's gotten to know Ollie here over the last couple of years, and he was asked earlier today about what he's really learned about Ollie during this time.
One of the cool things about this setup is that it gave me a chance to really get to know him. I've talked about it before. I wanted to also make sure, particularly this year, that this unique setup did not make things more difficult for him. So, I wanted to respect, obviously, that one-on-one communication that needs to happen between the manager and the president of baseball ops, and not, however unintentionally, run interference on the things he was working with Mo. But when I was in town, I'd get together with him. Sometimes I'd pop in the office, but sometimes we get together away from the field and just talk baseball, talk about the club, pick his brain. I wanted him to know, look, I'm going to be here for you. I will be available if there's anything you want from me. You need my opinion. You want to know how I feel about something, I'll be here, but I'm not going to try to run interference on what you're doing. And through that, we were able to talk about a lot of things, build a good relationship. We get deeper in the summer, and now as we're getting closer to the transition, I start talking to him about how I'm seeing things, where I think we need to go, and how I think we need to get there, and just felt a lot of alignment there. So at the end of the day, those things are so important. It's obviously a relationship that grows over time, where you build trust over time. But in terms of feeling like we're aligned in where we need to go, I think that's there. And I've been impressed just by how these guys play for him and how the group has responded to his leadership.
So that's what he's learned about Ollie. He also went into a little bit about what really impressed him about the job that Marmol has done during his Cardinals tenure.
We could talk about game strategy, and obviously that's a huge part of that job. But to me, the foundational pieces of it really get more to culture, putting players in position to succeed, and really pushing the organization towards the goals that we're trying to achieve. Now, in 2025, that was not easy, because obviously there's a number of different things, short-term, long-term, that we are trying to do as an organization. And it's not hard it's not easy to hit all those things at once and to balance them, make sure we're giving playing time to everybody while still rewarding the people who step up and perform, make sure we're keeping players positive through the ups and downs of the season. That even keel that you described is so important. This season is just too long, and there's too many games to have someone who's riding that roller coaster every single day. People look to their leaders to be that steadying influence. And if they are that, I think players respond to that. I think staff respond to that, because this is a game where no matter what happened yesterday, you got to be able to come in with your head screwed on right and get to work. And if your manager is embodying that, then that's something that the whole clubhouse can do. If you don't have that in that seat, it becomes really, really hard for everybody else to do that.
So, of course, moving forward, one of the big questions, probably the biggest question, is what's the roster going to look like next season, and what's the roster going to look like in years to come? Because the roster, clearly, obviously, it needs a pretty significant upgrade. Heim's been able to be in the organization, again, getting a front row seat to what was going on. There was so much talk this past year about runway and learning about players. So he was asked a bit about what he had learned about the roster so far and how that's going to impact things moving forward.
This game is too humbling to ever sit there and say, I've seen enough. I know 100% what this player is. Like, if you feel that way, the game will sometimes prove you wrong. So there's always benefit to seeing more. Now, that said, we also still want to use those roster spots well. We want to give opportunity to the right people. We want to be aggressive in pursuing the goals that we have as an organization and making moves accordingly. So you'd always like to see more, but the reality is it's also a competitive business. And if there are opportunities to improve our core and to improve our roster, we don't want to let the desire to see more get in the way of good opportunities for our organization. So I always love to see more, and you should never give up on players. But the reality is roster spots are finite, and competition is real.
For Bloom to be able to do what he wants to do with the Cardinals, he's going to have to get a lot of support from ownership, and especially considering what happened with him in Boston, dealing with ownership that was not fantastic. That he came in here needing some assurances that he would get the support that he needed from the DeWitts, from ownership. And he did say that he has asked a lot of the DeWitts.
But just the experiences over 20 years in baseball and just knowing what it takes, at least in my view, to get an organization really humming, that's pretty comprehensive. There's a lot of pieces to this. And, what you see on the big league field is obviously it's the end goal. It's everything, but it's really the tip of the iceberg. And for that to go well over time, as the Cardinals have shown so well over time, you need a lot of things in place. And so if I was going to have that opportunity to really get to know the organization, to understand where we were, at least in my opinion, I wanted to make sure that I put out there as much as I could about that, because that alignment that you talked about is so important. I mean, the reputation of the DeWitt family and what's happened here over the last 30 years is part of the reason that I came here in the first place when I was consulting in 2024. And it's a big piece of this, just because of the consistency with which they've operated the organization. That's so important. Obviously, I talked about this at the press conference. The operating model really needs that engine to be running really well. That acquisition and development engine has to be in really, really good shape. But when it is, that operating model can go and the organization can run consistently, and that's so valuable. So I wanted to make sure that having had the opportunity to really get to know it, that I took advantage of that opportunity and made sure that there was alignment. Like, you don't want to be in a situation where you're not aligned with your bosses. That's not good for anybody. So at the risk of maybe one too many bathroom breaks, I wanted to make sure that we had a chance to talk through a lot of different things, because I do believe there's so much that goes into it, and came away from that feeling really good. Like, you want to feel in this chair like you can really go full speed ahead. Obviously, you want to keep everybody connected, keep everybody informed, but you just want to make sure that everybody's seeing this the same way. They see the finish line the same way, and the path there the same way. And I came away from that feeling really good about it.
And as the organization moves forward, and whether it's this off season with maybe an opportunity popping up, whenever payroll might go up, whatever resources need to be given, he feels like this is an ownership group that absolutely will give him everything that he needs.
Yeah, that's where the track record is really important. And I think the track record of this organization and this ownership is that they've always wanted to invest in the organization, and they've done so thoughtfully. They've done it really consistent with a bigger picture, and obviously wanting to make sure that the revenues are in line with that projected investment. But yeah, they've always backed what the organization's needed. Look, this has not been an organization that has just jumped, they cannonballed into the deep end of the pool in free agency time and again. But like I said, they've been thoughtful about it. And I think that the biggest part, especially when it comes to free agency, is investing smartly. It's not just about dollars spent. It's about how does that fit into your strategy. Some of the best moves that you can make in free agency, including in the history of this organization, sometimes involve being disciplined, drawing a line. And, sometimes that might mean you miss out on a player. But if you've done your homework well and you've thought about this right, and you have the development system going, and you have guys coming up from within, sometimes that can be a blessing in disguise. So I understand, obviously, the appeal of that from a fan perspective, and it's something we share. But the most important thing is that it actually fits the rest of your strategy. Otherwise, it really just falls into the shortcut category. And like I said the other day, I don't want to take those, because they tend not to work, and they actually tend to make it harder to win over time, because this game is really unforgiving, and it will not look kindly on you if you try to shortcut the hard work that it takes to win consistently.
If you remember, he was originally brought into the organization to do a full audit of everything that was going on. And that was a couple years ago. And he presented his findings to ownership. And one of the first things he realized was the organization simply needed a lot more people, and they'll continue to take more people moving forward.
I didn't mince words, when I was able to do my assessment. And frankly, I don't think it was a surprise. I did think we just needed more people. So I know there's been a lot made about technology, and that's important too, but this is a people business, and it starts with people. You want enough people, you also need the right people. So it's not just about, hey, let's throw numbers at it. You want to make sure you're doing it thoughtfully. You're growing in a way that feels more organic, where it doesn't just feel like this, a clown car effect of like a bunch of people just charged into the room, and now what's everybody supposed to do? You want it to kind of build on itself and evolve over time, and you want to be thoughtful about it. And I had laid out, obviously, kind of a year one. This was back in 24 when we talked about what the organization needed on the player development and performance side. And then looking ahead to what would come this fall, what I thought we would be in a position to want to do this fall. Obviously, I've updated that as we've gone through the year, but they've been great about all of it. They understand the importance of a total organization. They want us to be smart about it, as I would too if I were in their shoes, and we're going to do that. But they've really backed everything that we've asked for, whether it's been people, whether it's been, technology, including some stuff that we got this past year, some that's still on the docket for 2026. So that's been great. I anticipate that continuing over time. And I think it's our job to make sure we are giving them a great return on their investment, and that we can demonstrate that to them over time. We should hold ourselves to that standard, frankly. To invest well, not just to invest.
So that first year for Heim in the organization was about going through the full audit and then presenting his findings. The second year was about really putting together what the team was doing from a player development and performance side of things. He talked a little bit about what they're trying to do and what they've been able to already accomplish in that area.
Probably the best shorthand to think about it, even though they do work hand in hand, is like player development is really your field staff, your skill staff, people wearing baseball pants. Performance department with a lot of these other expert resources that we bring to bear on trying to get the most out of our players. So that's athletic trainers, it's strength coaches, it's sports science folks, it's nutrition, it's mental health and performance, and more in that vein. The number one thing for me was those groups not just getting along, but really closely collaborating, really working together to get the most out of a player. I think that's been one of the biggest changes that the industry has undergone really in the last 5-10 years. And I don't think it's like a battle that's been won yet. I still think there's ground to cover. And so I wanted to make sure we were doing that really well so we can win that race. And that honestly takes more work. It takes more communication, because it's so easy for, a pitching coach to say, hey, make sure you get your stuff done in the weight room. And it's so easy for, the strength coach to make sure all the workout times are set so that everybody can get out on the field at the appropriate time. It's harder to make sure that those folks are actually collaborating, actually talking with each other, and making sure that all of the programming points towards the goals that we have for the player. So there's two aspects to that. One, like I talked about, is really just aligning those departments. That was part of why we set this up the way we did, with having those two departments report to the same place at the assistant GM level. And we hired Surf to fill that role. And just making sure everybody's aligned and communicating, so that if we have an objective, if we have something we want a player to do, it's not just something that happens on field. It's something that everything that player does, from the second he walks into the building, and in some cases when you get to nutrition and sleep and stuff like that, even before he walks in the building. But from the second he walks in the building till when he leaves, everything is pointing in the direction of getting this player towards that goal. And the other thing then is individualizing things a lot more. So what that ended up meaning that we were able to implement this year is, not just grouping players into bigger buckets where we have 3 or 4 or 5 different training plans. It's really trying to get to an individualized training plan for every single player that's transparent to them. And then we built on that, where in the off season, we're able to send all these players home with individualized plans for their off season. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Obviously, there's going to be common themes to these plans, but making sure things are both working together and then geared towards that individual are both really important. I thought we made great strides on that in 2025. Feel next year it'll be even better with the experience of this year under our belts. We were able to set up some things process-wise, for instance, that make sure that all those folks at an affiliate are sitting down on a regular basis, on a scheduled basis, talking to each other about, okay, where's this player supposed to be? What are we trying to accomplish? Where are we at on this? How is all of our programming helping us towards that goal? Are we actually doing the right things? Do we need to make adjustments? And then once that becomes part of the routine and everybody gets used to doing that a few times a year, it stands to reason you're just going to be more intentional in how you develop your players, and you should have better results.
When you look at the Cardinals, you certainly say in the division, they trail the Brewers, and the Brewers don't have some of the resources that the Cardinals have. The Cardinals certainly can push payroll more than the Brewers are ever going to, and you see what they are doing, and you try to investigate what is leading them to have so much success over a long-term plan, really, where they've had a lot of people in a lot of different roles. They've had multiple managers. They've had multiple head of baseball operations. Their coaching staff has changed over, yet they have continued to win. So Heim did talk a little bit about what there is to learn from that other team in the division, a team that's playing some really good baseball right now, the Milwaukee Brewers.
They're operating at a really high level, and you should always look at your competition. Like you said, you never want to copy the competition. And for that matter, I don't want to copy the places I've been, even if I'm proud of what we did there, because every organization is different. And all that trying to copy guarantees is two things. One, you're probably going to be behind because they're still moving forward. And two, you're basically wearing somebody else's clothes, and they're not going to look quite as good on you as they did on the person who actually owns them. You got to find your own way. But at the same time, understanding best practices, learning from the game, learning from the competition is really important. And they've done some really good things there. There are people there that I have worked with, or people that have come out of that organization that I've worked with since they were in that organization. Matt and I were together with the Rays for a number of years. A lot of respect for a lot of people there. There's some things that I know they've done, systematizing development in some of the ways that I've talked about that they were on earlier, really able to build replicable processes, especially in their pitching development. They've done some amazing things in the international market. They do a lot of things up and down their organization where they are just winning on the margins everywhere. And, sometimes when you say that, people say, okay, great, winning on the margins is good, but what about the big stuff? Well, I don't think it has to be an either or. And we should try to dominate every area that we can. And those little things add up, just like little things add up over the course of 162 games. It's no different. Like so much of what seems like revolutionary steps in this game are really just the result of just getting after it day after day and moving the ball every day, finding little things to get better at. And they've done an amazing job of that. You know, I hope obviously we can take some things from them, as we should from all of our competition, but also that we find the best way to do it here. And it's been a big part of how I've wanted to set this up. Look, we have amazing people in this organization. I wasn't surprised to find that, because I know the success that the organization has had and the respect that the organization carries in the industry. My hope is that by bringing in some new perspectives, fresh voices, and if there are people that have the right values, that everybody comes together, collaborates to build something that's better than what any of us has experienced individually.
And then the final thing from Chaim Bloom, and I thought this was really interesting because we're calling it a rebuild. A lot of people are calling it a rebuild. They have avoided using that term. He actually has a very good reason why, and thought this, we'll finish off with this. This is him explaining why he is not so much labeling it as a rebuild.
I don't want to label it, but I don't mind if people do. There's no like taboos for me around that. I just want to be clear about what we're trying to accomplish. And the most important thing for me is just to be clear on that we're going to try to do things towards that bigger goal, and that is more important right now than what it might mean today or tomorrow. And the more we do things towards that bigger goal, the quicker we are going to get there. I hate timetables just because I think sometimes they can weigh you down. They can sort of shackle you. And when I talk about not conceding anything, I actually think that's a mindset. I think one of the traps that comes when you establish a longer term goal is that you can sort of unintentionally relax and say, well, we don't have to be great today. And I understand that from a standpoint of like, okay, how many wins are we going to project for? That's something that, you want to be realistic about how you can build that over time. But in terms of how I get up this morning and come into work and think about the work I'm going to do today, in terms of how I want a coach thinking about what they're going to bring to making our players better, or a scout getting after it out in the field, or for that matter, our players when they walk in. If we get in that mindset that as is a long-term project, we don't have to be great today, it's just going to take longer. So I really don't think we can allow that to be our mindset culturally. I just don't think it's a winning mindset. And I don't think we should wait until our quote unquote foot is on the gas to try to have a winning mindset in this organization. So we're just not going to do that. I don't think that's ever been what the organization has done. I do think we need to be prepared in terms of our strategy and how we think about the moves that we make and what we're aiming for. I think we need to be prepared to be in this mode for multiple years. But again, I think if we stay really focused on it, we will get there quicker, and just not worry too much about trying to hit an arbitrary timetable and just worry about doing the right thing day after day.
Cardinals president of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom, speaking on the Gas House Gang earlier today here on KMOX. One more break. We'll come back and we'll wrap up the program. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Hey, it's Tom Ackerman. Underdog, the best place to get in on all the action during football season. Football season is in full swing, and that means Underdog is alive and well. You can select entries, and you can win money right now in Missouri. You just choose whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats. Or maybe they aren't your favorite players, but you just think that they're going to go higher or lower on a certain number, whether it's touchdowns, receptions, rushing yards, receiving yards, etc. They have all kinds of entries. You get them right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. It's Underdog. Download the app and use promo code TOM. Sign up with promo code TOM to score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code TOM. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
KMOX proudly supports the Mutual Awards, returning to Stiefel Theater Saturday, November 22nd. You can be in the audience for this nationally televised event, hosted right here in St. Louis. Named for Stan the Man, the show celebrates the year's greatest moments of sportsmanship and those who embody class and character. Experience the extraordinary moments and people that make the Mutual Awards an event like no other. For more information, KMOX.com/events.
Retirement shouldn't feel like balancing your checkbook while blindfolded. I'm Gary Goldberg, and my team helps you see the big picture so you can retire younger, richer, and with less anxiety. Because guessing is not a strategy. Tune in to Wealth and Wisdom with Gary Goldberg Saturday mornings at 7 here on KMOX.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-384-9393. That's 800-384-9393.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real. And I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
It's the most inspiring night in sports, the Musial Awards at Stiefel Theater. You can be in the audience for this nationally televised event from St. Louis. Named for Stan the Man, the Musial Awards celebrate those who uplift us through their extraordinary sportsmanship. Experience the remarkable moments and people that make this an event like no other. The Musial Awards, presented by Maryville University, Saturday, November 22nd. Tickets at musialawards.com. It's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, the doctor's doctors, 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Back at it on the Gray Bar Sports Open Line here on KMOX. Just a couple minutes left in the show. We'll get out of here again. Back at you tomorrow night for a full program. We'll have the Rush Hour show during 5 o'clock, and then Sports Open Line begins at 6 o'clock tomorrow, and look forward to having you for that. I want to say thank you to all of my guests tonight. Hockey Amy Marks, of course, in the first hour. Jerry Augustine, former Brewers pitcher, joined us in the first hour. And then Rob Raines earlier this hour had some really good conversations, and it was fun to be able to play back for you some of what Chaim Bloom had to say today. So a busy program today. Hopefully we'll have more of that coming up tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll talk to you again right here on KMOX.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th. So go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Missouri can count on.
If you or a loved one wants a trusted partner to help you age with purpose and independence at home, the Ever True Anywhere Care team offers world-class in-home services for older adults, including physical, occupational, and speech therapies. Formerly Lutheran Senior Services, the caregivers at Ever True Anywhere Care assess your needs and customize a plan for you. Call 314-597-6498 or visit evertrueanywherecare.org. That's evertrueanywherecare.org.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is legal tax defense has been successfully negotiated